Hello everyone. Right, that took a couple of attempts, but I think I've got it going now. Or I should have. Hopefully. Let's just see. My phone's still saying waiting, so I'm not sure if it's kicked in yet. Or if you can hear me. Okay, it started. Okay, looks like we're good to go then. Okay, so you can see me. Can you hear me? Okay. Just what? Yeah. Everyone's saying hi, so that's a good start. Good, you can hear me. Okay. Right. So yeah, right. Time for another tier list. This one's a little different. Obviously, it's liveries, so a bit more chill, a bit more subjective, I suppose. Instead of looking at driver or car performance, and thinking about aesthetics, basically. Why am I wearing my headphones? I don't need these. Let's take those off. Yeah. So I've basically tried to think up as many individual liveries as I could, which from the 2010s. So it's I may have missed a couple, but I've gone for just the ones I consider to be different, and then a couple of like testing liveries and some of the one-offs as well. So there's like 50 odd here. So I've given these names roughly. I mean, a couple of them have proper names, but I've given them names approximating to what they are, and they're arranged alphabetically. So yeah, we'll just go through those, and then I'll get a gallery up that has so we can have a proper look at them. So I'll get it started, and obviously if you want to ask me questions about anything of F1 or maybe the iceberg video yesterday as well, we can do that too, and just hang out. So first up is what I called the One Malaysia Lotus. So if I bring that one up here, so obviously homage to the British Lotus outfit. We've got the British racing green, we've got the bits of yellow and the white strips over the engine. It's not bad. I mean, we've got a couple of B's S already. But yeah, it's not the most inventive, I suppose. So my first, yeah, what we're seeing, so B to C, couple of A, S tier, interesting. Yeah, it's an all right livery. The green is too dull. Yeah, I was thinking that it's a bit. Yeah, it's not bright enough. I mean, it's meant to be British racing green, but it's all right. So for this one, I'm seeing mostly B's, a couple of S's. That's interesting. A, B, C. I think we'll put this one in B just to get started. So the second one, this is the Williams 2014 winter testing livery. So it was just a basic dark navy blue that they ran before they put the Martini livery on. So yeah, I mean it looks different, I suppose, but yeah, there's not much to say. Obviously, it's just a navy blue, to be honest, isn't it? So we're getting F, too boring, C, D, F, C, F, D. Yeah. There's not much to say, I think, with this one. C, yeah, I'm seeing mostly Ds, so maybe for this one it can just be a D or something. So, oh, D's the lowest. Oh yeah, I forgot I only had 5 for this. So yeah, we'll put it at the bottom. Yeah, I did think maybe I should have added E and F as tiers, but then I thought, it's not. There's only so much detail you can go into with liveries anyway, so we put that one D. And so next up is the 25th anniversary Sauber, what they called it. So if I go back to that one, this is much better, I think. It's a really, really nice shade of blue, and the gold, that really works as well. So yeah, I'm really into this one. Uh, A, C, B, A, B. Yeah, mostly A's. I mean, it helped as well that one thing that I'm going to try not to do is to think too much about the car shape and design itself, because that's the 2017 cars happen to look particularly good, I think, because they had first year with the wide body, and just with the kind of slanted rear wing and the shark fin, it really worked. So I'm seeing mostly A's. C, A, yeah. Same the car was terrible. Yes, indeed. I mean, this is obviously, that was my starting my tweets of fit but shit. This is the first one I could think of. Looks good, but some lines are a bit weird. Yeah, I suppose the white is a bit odd because it sort of just highlights the lack of sponsorship, just having these big white blobs on here. Otherwise, it's good. I mean, the front wing looks fantastic with the gold and the blue on it. So I think it's a good one. It's a shame it only ran for 1 year, to be honest. So for that one, I think that can go. I'll put that in A. Maybe that's what a lot of people seem to be saying. Has anyone watched Formula E? Yeah, I did. I mean, I moved this back 15 minutes, partly to fit in Formula E and also the Formula Regional European Championship by safety car, because the safety car seems to lead more than the actual cars. And also because we had this government alert thing on our phones that was going off at 3 o'clock, so I didn't want that blaring out just as I start the stream. Yeah, so okay. So the next one is Caterham. So this is Caterham's. I called this the Air Asia Caterham. So if I skip over to that, so again, it's. I mean, okay, I maybe should have lumped this in with with the Lotus one because it is the same livery more or less, but because it was a different team, I was like, yeah, we can give it a. It is a little bit different, but it's the same basic idea of British racing green with yellow on the engine cover and some flashes of white and that. So we're thinking A D B B A B A. The green is brighter. Yeah, I suppose it has more of a sheen to it. It seems it's not quite so dull. But otherwise, yeah. I mean, the car itself is a bit odd. It's got obviously the very jagged nose and that. And I don't know what's going on with the exhaust here. It looks like the gills on a shark almost. But what you're seeing, A and B. It's all yeah. It's all right. I mean, it's largely the same as the other Lotus one, so maybe that could just join it in B. I mean, to be honest, now that I look at them, they are almost exactly the same, actually. But whatever. Remember livery, not shape. Yeah, I need to stop commenting on the cars themselves. Right. So next up is the next Caterham, the Airbus Caterham. I called this one. This is better, certainly, because it's a more of a glossy green, and they've got rid of the yellow. So it's just the green and white. Actually, I mean, okay. Let's pretend we're not looking at the nose and everything else about that car, because that's one of my least favorite cars in Formula One, I think. But yeah, the color is good. I'm seeing S, A a lot. We're talking about livery, not car. Yeah. Yeah, no, the livery itself is good. It's just a shame about the car that it's attached to. But yeah, having the black highlights, that works. Obviously, partly hides the nose cone. And with the white, just the absolute yellow, it's a much more glossy green. A and B. I think, to be honest, I could move this up. I mean, it's obviously similar. I could move this one up to A. Maybe that could go up there, I think. For the time being, it's definitely better. It's I mean, now when you look at them there, you can see how much duller the green of the other two is. Yeah. So next we have Alfa Romeo. So This one, strictly speaking, this one goes across two different teams, but because Sauber and Alfa Romeo, but I thought that they're no different at all. It's, you know, Alfa Romeo, Sauber, and then just Alfa Romeo. So yeah. Pete, I'd recommend to put slow mode on. Yeah. How do I do that? Okay, I'll see if I can. If people object to that, how 2 seconds. I'll just go in here. Is that gonna? Oh gosh, yeah, I can see that's all coming in. Oh, how do I do that? Am I going to end up giving away stuff people do? Okay, I'm going to leave that for the moment. Yeah, sorry. 2 seconds. Yeah. Is it messing things up having... Oh, it's the infinite screen thing, isn't it? Okay, well, I put it back now. Obviously, there's a delay. My chat is probably about 20 seconds behind, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, Alfa Romeo. So this one and the 2019, the first Alfa Romeo, they're by and large the same. Obviously, since then, they seem to have gone more red in their direction, but this, you know, it's not bad. I mean, obviously it's the white, the red is reasonably glossy. It looks a bit weird at the front because it's got those sort of navy-ish blue, pale blue strips going along it. I think it's not bad, to be honest. I'm trying to pretend it's not Alfa Romeo because that just makes it seem so much more plain, but the white is too strange. The front is dead, but the rear is nice, like my wife, right? Definitely A compared to the future. I love the colors. It's too white, but A. Yeah. Let's think. Yeah, I think maybe an A is fair. B seems a bit low. People seem to like it. Okay. So the next one is the Banco do Brasil Sauber. I'm really not a fan of this. I just don't like it's that I don't like that shade of blue. It's just really plain and plasticky. The yellow doesn't fit. The front wing, the black and white, that's kind of good, but it doesn't match to have this black and white front and rear wings, and then the body of the car is this really cheap blue color. Looks like a toy. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It looks like it's made of plastic. And again, it's just emblematic of the 2015 season being so dull. Looks like a rip-off toy car. Looks very GP2. Vomit yellow. Yeah. It's not brilliant, is it, really? Should be the other way round, yellow with blue. I'm trying to picture that in my head. That probably would work. It would look, because it wouldn't look like Jordan, because it would need the black as well. But yeah, that might also work weird. Oh yeah, the number placement. Yeah, that's very stuck on. I mean, I sometimes I do wish the numbers were a bit more obvious for a lot of drivers, because when you're trying to find one and when they've got helmets that look the same and the number's just on the nose cone or it's hidden behind the helmet, that's really annoying. Yeah, I don't like this one at all, to be honest. So I think it can go in D. The Sauber, it's not brilliant. Okay, this is I don't black and silver McLaren. So the 2015. So 2015 they changed liveries, so it started black and silver and then they just went to black halfway through the year. Hey Peter, really enjoyed the F1 Iceberg 2.0 overnight while watching it. Totally worth it. Oh well, thank you. It seems a lot of people liked it, which is what I wanted, because it was a hell of a job getting that one done. Yeah, again, like I said, so with this, looking at just the livery, it's not actually that bad. It's just that the fluorescent like orangey red thing. I don't know what's going on there, and I'm trying to not look at the car itself and how awful that nose cone is. It. The more I look at it, the more it warms up to me. Like if I try to ignore, if I zoom in a bit, if you, it's the front half that's the problem. Like the back is actually okay with the chrome silver and the black. That transition into the two, but it just doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't work. It's the front, and I've only just noticed that the wing mirrors are bright orangey red too. So what are we thinking? So I'm seeing a couple of B, C. The chrome is too heavy. Yeah, it's a thing. It's actually very hard to tell where the black starts and the chrome and the silver ends because it's so reflective that you can't really tell. The back is A, but the front is a DC, no more than a B. C plus CNN. Okay, CCN. Okay. Looks like the West McLaren to a degree, but it's not nearly as good as the West McLaren. Yeah, I don't. Maybe not a D. If that red went all the way down and was doing stuff up here, I think it would be a D. But the back half just about saves it. So that's the wrong thing. I'll put it in a C because I don't have anyone in C yet. Okay, so next up I've got, this is black and orange Shandon McLaren. This is interesting. Again, let's not look at the car. As good as the car looks, the livery, it is interesting. So it does seem to work, I think. It's a good, like black and orange with the white in there as well. It hasn't, yeah. It certainly stands out. That's the thing. It's high contrast and it's something that's instantly recognizable because like this year, it's a sea of, there's lots of dark blue colors and navy blue and a lot of red, and I'm struggling to tell a lot of the teams apart sometimes. Like Aston and Mercedes look almost identical at night. World's fastest gamer makes it an S. It's a very solid CCB. Underrated. Ton of orange, didn't fit McLaren, but it looks good. This one is better, not the best, but it's coherent. I would say B. It's better than the 2015 one for sure. It's a bit overhated, but this shade of orange doesn't work as well. The orange canal boat if you're a rocket-powered Mohawk, right? A for the livery, D for the racing memories. Yeah, it's a shame it was just a bad. It's a shame it was a bad car, and obviously Alonso complained a lot about. But I like it. It has elements to it. It feels like a homage to the 1999 Arrows, where the front half was orange and the back half was black. It has that sort of vibe going on. I mean, I like it. We're mostly seeing A and B, A, C at best. I could meet in the middle, maybe C. I think a B is not a bad. Oh, B is the middle. I keep thinking C is the middle. Yeah, no, B's the middle. Yeah. So we'll put that in there. Okay. Next, black and white Sauber. This one. Okay, so I decided to include. So this one also includes the 2010 car, which I absolutely love, even though I had no sponsors on it except for like Burger King and Chelsea FC. I'm not a fan of the Claro red dot, to be honest. But yeah, the basic concept is good of the black, the white with the red strip. It's just it's the placement of the sponsors that's not really working for me. The Telmex, the NEC, it's that Claro big red dot. I'm just not feeling it. So we got A very fun, too good for C but not good for B. D very boring. B there's something missing on the engine cover. Yeah, it is. It's got more sponsors than their last car, but still it just feels a bit. It is a bit empty. It's too white. C a simple sometimes better than overthought. W C white looks good but it's very boring. I just don't rate white cars along with navy. Looks like a medicine cover. Yeah, it does have a sort of the white with the red has it's like it's kind of hospital themed livery. CD. I'm mostly seeing C's, to be honest. It's the Claro logo. Yeah, it looks out of place. Yeah, it does. I think it looks all right. Well, I think it's the execute. It's the concept is good. It's just the execution hasn't landed. So I think for that we can put that in C. I'm going to keep clicking on that, aren't I? C. Yeah. Okay, what's this? That's the other black and white, or no, black McLaren. Okay, that's what that is. So this is the McLaren from the second half of 2015, and then in 2016. Okay, well it's still. I think this is an improvement. Where's the ENFT? I forgot to put them in. I was thinking about it as well, and I thought, I don't know, maybe that's too many in terms of getting very specific, but yeah. Yeah, this okay, so we're already seeing C, D, B, C. It is an improvement, I think. And it's the orange stuff. It's a nice touch, but it's just the shade of orange because it has that it's kind of half orangey red. It's not papaya, and it looks very faded. It looks like the car's been left out in the sun. But the shade of like it's not really black. It's a sort of gunmetal grey. Is kind of good. But what are people thinking? B for the livery, but there's memory to Brazil 2015 drag it down. Alonso barrel rolling. The orange on the side pod. Improvement. You can make a new series of human ones. Yeah, I'll see if it'll let me edit it. I might try and add. Although I had problems getting this to, because it was using so many pictures. It was very, very slow to create the thing when I clicked on create. But yeah, glossy doesn't work, and the red's got to be darker. The orange is supposed to be red. Look at the car under night lights. Yeah, I can see how that would be darker under night. Looks unfinished. Yeah. I'm trying to ignore the nose cone because the nose cone is an enormous improvement over the previous one. B, but we're supposed to be seeing B. Let's think. I think it is better than the previous one. Will this stream up be a loaded video? Yes, it will. Unless I've messed something up in the settings. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe B is it's kind of straddling between B and C. It's it doesn't stand out as much as the black and orange, so I think maybe a C is going to go in there. Okay, so now something completely different. The next one, this is Camo Bull. So this is Red Bull's winter testing livery in 2015. And this is one of the times, because they tend to do this and they're like, okay, maybe they're going to do something different, but it looks like one of the custom liveries that you would get in the games, to be honest, that you have to pay whatever to get. But it looks insane, and it has, from their perspective, obviously it has the effect that you can't it breaks up the outline like a zebra, and so you can't really tell what's going on aerodynamically. I feel like it would give you motion sickness watching it a lot, but if it was in races. But it does look, it really is something else. So I'm getting a lot A, S, high B, D, S. The Red Bull's orgasmic. Objectively a B. I think it's overrated because it was a one-off. Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where people probably would have got sick of it very quickly because it's just so zazzy or glaring, I guess. It's so different from the others. A to S, high A. Yeah, someone said if it's only good because it was for testing. We had it all the time. It would be dull. Can't see the number. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, yeah. Okay, so there's a number on the what's it? Not the barge board is not the barge board. The turning vane, and then on the nose. But yeah, you can barely see the driver numbers, and I think if they changed it so it was a red or a color, so that it would ruin it. I think we should just give this S purely for originality because I've never seen anything like that before on an F1 car. I think that's good. That's a good one. Okay. So now, Shandon McLaren. So 2018. I love the shade of blue. And obviously it's got the papaya orange. Again, I'll ignore the fact that the car has got this weird like cheese grater thing going on the nose cone and the side pods and that. But yeah, this is the one that's a bit of a meme because it has no sponsors on it, where now McLaren have basically got too many. BBAC, very clean, looks like a 90s Ferrari but orange. Love the orange, wish it had more sponsors. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you can't see it in this picture, but I don't think there are any sponsors on the engine cover. The car looks awful, but the livery looks very cool. Yeah, it's the car's look is not brilliant. C, because the orange is too bright. B, too plain. Yeah. I don't. I think yeah. It's looking at it compared to the black and white Shandon one. The shade of orange is a bit brighter, and it's the blue is different. But does the Alonso farewell livery? Well, it does, but I forgot about it. So I don't have that one on here. Yeah, so that's the thing. I did all this last night trying to think of as many liveries as I could, and so there's going to be a couple of one-offs I've probably forgotten about. Maybe just a B because it's just a bit plain. So yeah, I think I'll put that in the middle. So the next one, this is another Red Bull testing livery. This is called the Chevron Red Bull. It was, I think, 2018 when they had this one. Again, it's different, but it's a similar shade of red to on the McLaren, and it just looks a bit. It still looks like a Red Bull. I mean, it helps that it says Red Bull on the side. It still looks like a Red Bull thing, but I'm seeing a lot of S's actually. SA. Again, it looks like one that a custom livery that you would get in one of the games. The one thing I'm not a fan of is I'm not so sure about the silver strips they've got there and on the rear wing if that was needed, but too complex. Looks a bit like the 2016 McLaren. Yeah, it's obviously blue, but it's a very similar shade of red. Have you got the white Red Bull? I haven't got that because this is only liveries from the 2010s, so I don't have the white Red Bull or the maroon Ferrari or the Golf McLaren or any of the other special ones they've done. So just 2010 to 2019. Yeah, I'm not as big a fan as the camo one. I'm seeing mostly A's and B's. B is the middle again. I can put it above that. I think I'll put this one in A. So the next one, this is the Chrome McLaren from 2014. This, I think, generally is good. It's a bit, obviously, ignore the nose and the car. It doesn't have the orange highlights like the next car did. But it's not. Yeah, and again, it has this transition from the silver to the black. I think it actually kind of works for me. It looks it's obviously like a homage to the Vodafone. It's like the Vodafone livery, but without the Vodafone element, I guess. Um, but it is fairly plain. It's just one color. Um, it does kind of look like it hasn't been painted yet, I suppose. So we've got D, C, B, B, B. Looks better now than it did back then. Yeah, I mean, looking at it, it's working, but I barely remember it at the time. I mean, I tried to wipe 2014 from my mind because it was just such a shit year for Formula One, really. Um, look better once they had the SAP sponsorship. Other than that, low C. Yeah, because at the moment it's got the SAP at the moment. It's just black and white sticker. It's nothing going on there. But maybe they change that later on. Why is the live chat on screen not working? Is it not lagging, or I'll look on my phone. I can see it on my phone without switching the screen over. If it's well, it seems to be moving. Maybe it's pausing a bit. Sometimes they freeze and keep going, but it should be all right. SAP was yellow. Okay, yeah, I can see that's why it would stand out a little. It's delayed, but it keeps freezing. Yeah, it's that sometimes that happens. I don't think there's much I can do with that. I would have set the latency lower so that it was closer, but I didn't know if that was going to make it start lagging and go into like 140p or whatever, 120p. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, we've got B and C. It's just very plain. I think for me it looks better than 2015. It's between C and B. C, B, very dull McLaren, which Ron Dennis probably would have liked. Maybe C. It doesn't stand out nearly as much as the orange ones to me. So I think I'll put that in C. Okay. Well, okay. So another. This is, or maybe this is the camo bull. I think that's what this one's called. Or where is it? Where is it gone? Where's it gone? Okay, well that's meant that one. Okay, maybe if I go, back in the folder, 2010 liveries. Where is it? The order's mixed up on these, but oh well. Disrupto Bull. That's what it is. Oh, it's a WebP. Okay, never mind. Yeah. Okay, so this is another preseason livery, testing livery. This, I think this is really cool. I don't remember what year it's gonna. Well, based on the look, it looks like 2017, 2018, one of those. I love that like digital camo. It looks like a Call of Duty skin, and the sort of the faded Red Bull thing that really works. So I think this is brilliant, and it's matte as well. This is something they could have legitimately kept all year, I think, and people would have loved it. Yeah, it's given me Call of Duty vibes, so I'm giving this an S alongside the other one. Okay, so next up after that is Flexbox Mana Marusha. So this I was torn because they started the season, they didn't have the Flexbox sponsorship, so it was just white, and they didn't have Airbnb. I mean, they had virtually no sponsors at the start of the year, so the car was just white with bits of red on it. But then when they added the Flexbox, it just improved so much how it looked. And it has like it gave the car, especially when it's wearing whatever compound that is, the white on the tires, it just gives it this very sporty look, I think. And particularly because they introduced mid-season, they brought a new floor in, and there was some edges and contours on the floor that just kind of made it look mean, even though it was proportionally speaking, it's one of the least competitive cars in Formula One history, in terms of the gap to the next. So we've got a lot of D's. That's interesting. I can see the chat suddenly caught up there. I think only orange and white or white and blue. The X of Flexbots clashes with the red of the engine cover. Oh, yeah, it's a different shade, isn't it? Yeah, that's not good. I like it generally. I like, obviously, I think that's the name of sponsors or team members because this picture was taken at Silverstone. It looks like a barcode almost. That's, yeah, the block of text. That's what that is. I think it's mechanics or supporters or something that they put on for Silverstone. It looked good as well because in the United States Grand Prix when Rossi was driving, they put the stars and stripes on the rear wing, which I thought was a nice touch. But I'm surprised how many Ds we're getting, to be honest. It literally looks like the Airbnb F1 team. Yeah, it does a bit. I'm surprised the amount of Ds, to be honest. I quite like it, but maybe I'll put it. I think just to find a balance between what I think and what everyone else thinks, I'll put it in the middle. So a C for that. Even though if it was just down to me, I'd have put it higher probably. Right, here we go. The gold HRT. I could talk about this for absolutely ages. So when they launched it, like it was a bit plainer because it didn't have the gold numbers. It was missing a lot of the red highlights. And they embellished it a lot as it went on. And so this is like peak HRT when you've got it's such a nice blend of gold into the white and the burgundy. I mean the KH7 that stands out a bit too much, and they had for the Indian and Korean Grand Prix they had this green Tata T sponsor on the side. I can see it properly now. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And what we're seeing, so S a D. Oof, B. I like the fact also from a distance it almost looked like a McLaren from a distance somehow, even though when you look at them together they look nothing alike. Good white and red usually doesn't go, but doesn't. I just love it. I need to try. I want to try and replicate this in one of the games or something from my own custom team. So I'm giving the HRT an S. Okay, so then we got the gold HRT. So now with the grey HRT, yeah, this one, its plainness is kind of emblematic of how quickly the car was built, because it's just grey. I mean, they did change things. They changed things around a little bit with the colours and when they added sponsors and everything. The front half is quite good, actually. I like it the white and the red strips. I think that blends well with the nose cone. The front wing is a bit off, having the red, the white, and the grey together. But I'm enjoying the front half. The back half is just a bit bland, just to have so much grey that only serves to highlight the lack of sponsors. But then of course they put the names on the side just like West McLaren used to, which is a nice thing, a nice touch. It gives mid-2000s Minardi, yeah, a little bit. I mean the Minardi was jet black, so that was much darker, but it had the white because European aviation. Where's the Campos orange? I don't think they had a Campos orange on this, or not on any of the cars. Maybe obviously the team was originally Campos, but not this was the launch livery. Front is too colourful, rear isn't colourful enough. Yeah, maybe just in the middle, to be honest. It's just, yeah, it looks like a GP2 car. Yeah, it drove like a GP2 car as well. It wasn't much faster, to be honest. Yeah, maybe it I'll close that because I'll keep clicking on that. Yeah, maybe just a no, I don't know. A lot. I'm seeing B, C, C. I think I'll put it in B for me. It's a fair balance. Right, the next one. So this is the grey Sauber. So this is their 2013-2014 livery. I'm only just noticing now that this is just a grayer version of the black and white, because the black and white one had the black and red had grey, but they've just covered the whole thing in, well, it's more silver than grey, I guess. It's again, for me, it's emblematic of the fact that this car was just not that interesting, and then the 2014 car was bloody awful and driven by two drivers that crashed so much. So we've got A, B, B, C, A. Again, it's the Claro dot. It just does not fit at all. Yeah. If it didn't have that, it doesn't help as well that there's a further clash because it's wearing what I think is the super soft or the soft compound tires that were orange in 2013, which I just didn't like. S C B B B D A. I think the Claro is a slightly different shade of red from on there as well. BDCS. Maybe a B. Oh, I'm seeing. Well, it's hard to say actually because a lot of people. There's a lot of. I mean, everyone's voting for every different tier for this one. I mean, that's Nico's helmet. I think they've obviously designed it around the car, so his helmet blends in, but that's irrelevant. Driver helmets mostly. I keep taking the C as the middle. Yeah, it's throwing me off. Maybe just B. I'm seeing so many C. Yeah, no, let's put it in C. I'm seeing a ton of C's. Okay, the next one. This is the I think I called it Heritage Mercedes. Yeah. So it's the one-off that they used for Germany 2019. And again, I think that's the last time they're going to try special one-off liveries. I wasn't really sure what they were trying to do here because the thing is the front half is white, but the back half is still silver and everything, and it looked odd to me because I don't remember if they ever had white cars like in the 50s and 60s. I was like, if you're going to do that, make the whole thing white, because it looks like to me it literally looks like the original car, but then someone sprayed a fire extinguisher at the front of it. But obviously, yeah, they had the touch because then they had the vintage overalls on that. Beautiful livery that's cursed B. Genius idea said it was not on the phone. Iceberg video saying thank you very much. Paint peeling looks so bad. Is that they're ripping the paint? Oh yeah. That okay. That makes more sense. But then why would it be white underneath if it without the paint on? Like that's just. Oh, I don't know. The pit crew. They ripped off the white. Oh no, it's the other way around. They ripped the white paint off, and it's the S. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. It's just interesting because it's such a bright white as well. But I don't. What's killing it for me is the red. I'm not a fan of the red numbers. So. Everyone seems to like it though, I think. Yeah. I mean, this maybe isn't the best picture because I've got two cars but front on, so you can't see the side that it looks how it blends with it. B's in the middle, yeah. A, B, C, S. See, mostly A's and B's. A few people want S, so maybe I'll put it in. Because the 30s Mercedes are white, but they had to peel the paint off for the first race because it was overweight, and underneath it was silver. Silver as born. Okay, well that was the expensive. I didn't know that to be honest. I mean, again, when it's all black and white photos from back then, so you wouldn't know. Yeah. It's helped by I think a lot of people are voting S because of how badly the race went for them. I think it's helped that it's a one-off, and so that makes it stand out. can't be the same tier as their usual livery. Well, we'll see. I mean, we haven't got to the silver arrows yet. Maybe I'll put it in A because that seems like a fair balance for what a lot of people are thinking. I'm just in two minds about that one. Okay, so I called this one I called this inverted black and white Sauber because I thought, okay, it's the same basic concept, but they flipped it around. So I think that counts as different. So this is I think it's better. I like the black nose cone is good. It's a good because it's not that sort of dull silvery grey of the other one. It's just a more of a matte black kind of thing. Again, the Claro dot is not working for me. BD, CD, a red strip at the front. Yeah, it's the front wing is looking a bit funny, having all three colours together. And again, that Claro dot. Looks like the MP Motorsport car from F2. Yeah, they changed. I always think theirs is orange. They changed it, didn't they? Looks like a shoe. Oh yeah, I kind of see what you mean. It looks a bit like a trainer, doesn't it? It looks like running trainers. It's just that bloody Claro dot is ruining it, to be honest. But otherwise, it's good. I mean, okay, where did I put the other Sauber? I put that in C. I feel like it's better than that. It has a mixture. I'm seeing mixtures of C and Bs. Yeah, I think I don't know. Let's look at it again. I think it has to be marked down because there's a Chelsea logo. Yeah. Does it have it? Where is the Chelsea? The 2010 car had the Chelsea logo. I don't know if they can't see it on this one. Maybe in C. Yeah, most people seem to be saying C. So yeah, go that in there. Okay, next that's the John Player Special Lotus / Renault. So yeah, this was extremely popular when it was brought in. It's not quite the same. It's obviously a little different from the original JPS one, but the reference is there. I think it helps with Senna driving it that you've got the black and the gold, and then the yellow, the Lotus, and because his helmet more or less matches the Lotus logo, that goes in really well. 2012 to 2013. This is actually the 2011 Renault, but when they became Lotus, up until the end of 2015, it was the same livery up until then. Yeah, so I mean, I went on, I looked through, and I was thinking, okay, there's a couple of tiny modifications, but it's the same basic concept behind each of the Lotus ones. S without the red, but it kind of ruined it a bit. Yeah, I suppose the red. I've never really given it much thought, but yeah, maybe if I'd need to picture this if it just had black on the front and rear wings on the sides, because the S is just a bit weird. Sponsored by Lada because Vitali. Yeah. Where's the Lada logo? Can I see that there? Alicia. Unless I've gone blind, but yeah. Oh, there's the Lada logo. Yeah, I see it there. It says Arda on that picture. S if you exclude the 2011 car. Yeah, I think maybe an S, to be honest, because it's because of what it's a homage to, and it's overall done. It's executed generally very well. Yeah, I'll throw this one in S, I think. Okay, so this one is next up is the Kingfisher Force India. I really like this. It's a really, again, it has that sort of digital camouflage thing going on with and it's so bright, and it just obviously it's meant to be the colors of the Indian flag. It's the 2012 car, yeah, but obviously they use this livery from 2009 to 2013. And yeah, it's just it lands. It really does. So I'm mostly seeing A's and S's. Really nice orange and green, very nice. Yeah, it's a very like silvery, shimmery green. It's got the metallic thing going on too. And the sponsors, they complement each other really well. The way the Kingfisher and the White Mackay, there aren't too many clashes of colors or tones or anything. I want to put this in S, I think. Right, how many have we got left? 3, 6, 9, 11, 22, 26, 28. Okay, well, been going just under an hour, nearly halfway, so not bad going. Okay, so this next one, this is the Niki Lauda tribute Mercedes. So this is another one-off. It's from 2019, obviously just after Niki died. So it is just, it's the Silver Arrows Mercedes, but it has the red halo. And isn't there a red... I thought there was a red star on the car, but you can't... Or maybe it's one of the stars on the side and you just can't see it, really. But yeah, that's basically all what it is. And obviously, the original livery is stunning. And for the reasons it's done, you kind of have to... Yeah. So I'm seeing SS... The red doesn't contrast. Yeah, that's the thing is it's not... If this was a year-long livery, I think everyone would be asking what's with the halo. The same with the year when Ferrari had that green on the engine cover. No disrespect to Lauda, but it looks pretty weird. The best tribute one-off livery Merc have done, especially for a legend like Lauda. The red star on the engine cover. Yeah, I know it's there. I just can't see it. It's one of the... There's something down there just below the 44 that might be it, but yeah. The red makes it worse, but the message equalizes it. Yeah. For that reason, maybe it should stay an S because of the symbolism on it. So I'll throw that in S. Okay, so now this is the Manor. So next, this is the Manor livery. Again, I'm sure that by the end of the year they had more sponsors than that, because there's nothing there. Like, there's hardly anything. I can see Daffy's and Rescale, Shazam and Airbnb, and that's it. But it's a good complement of colours, and again, it's a massive departure to have that much blue. It's a really good shade of blue. But it doesn't really look like a Formula One car to me. Can you do the entire history of F1? Okay, well, a video idea. Okay, well that would take. I mean, I don't know if you mean, because I had been considering this about doing, like, you know, the history of Formula One, I guess, as a homage to Bill Wirtz or whatever his name is, if I could meme it up completely. But yeah, the whole history of F1, that would have to be very, very whistle stop to stop it being like 10 hours long. So what was I saying? A My Team car. Yeah, it does look like one you'd find in a game, I suppose. Tier list of every F1 season. Oh, that would take forever. To do it justice, I'd have to watch back a load of old races. But actually, no. I see what you mean. A tier list, like a live stream. Maybe it has potential. I'd need to do a bit of research myself just so I'm informed enough on some seasons. The car's bad, but the engine noise is so good. Color scheme is horrible. You could do episodes for each 10 years. Yeah, if I did it in parts, maybe that could be a thing. Always really like the Manor livery. I think I like it because it feels so much. It's the blue. It's very vibrant, I think. And it's one we only saw once. It looks better with the sponsors. Yeah, this is obviously an early photo because they're missing a lot of sponsors. But I think it looks good, so I'm thinking either A or B. 'Cause So it looks nice but empty. I like that. Yeah, I like that it's nice and bright and sunny, if you will. I'll put it in A. Yeah. So then after that, this is the Martini Williams. This is a good one. Obviously, originally Martini was like that. It was the 70s and 80s. They were doing like rally cars, wasn't it, and endurance racing, like Porsche, wasn't it, and Lancia, I think. I chose this year specifically because this is the 2018 car because it has that black underneath, and I really like that. And obviously the previous cars, they all look good as well, but they were just more white. And in the games, they couldn't put the Martini, they didn't have the license in F1 2014 to put the Martini livery, so I think it was missing it was either the red or the blue strips were missing from the livery in the game. S with Master's green helmet, it looks good. Yeah, that's, whose number is that? I think that's Stroll's helmet, number 18. Oh. Okay, well, it's either Stroll or Sorokin, but they've got the Martini ring on the top, and that fits. The red was missing. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of S's, but it's a Martini livery is always going to work. So kudos to Williams for getting that. So I think we'll give this one an S. So next up, that's Marussia. I mean, to be honest, it's not that different. It's the same basic, well, it's the same color scheme as the Virgin liveries, but it's a different design completely. Again, the Marussias, they're cars where, again, I look at them and I was like, it doesn't look like a Formula One car, but it's a good combination. But I just don't see. I think that's partly just the general design of the cars, because that was a very early 2010s was a weird period for car design. When you look at the modern cars, having these very high noses and all these very jagged things, and everything's very tall and high up. But what we got? A, B, C, B, B. Looks like an LMP1 car. Yeah, I feel like that would fit more on an endurance racer. NASCAR scheme, yeah. I like, okay, the front is good where the white takes over and it kind of converges more. But again, I think what it's suffering from is a lack of sponsors. There's so much empty space on the sides. I mean, they've got, what was there? Agas, Let's Race, Bifold, Armin Strom, Carplan, JCC, PDVSA. How was that? Oh, that's because of PDVSA. That was Maldonado's sponsors, but there was that, I've forgotten his first name. There was that Gonzalez guy that was one of their third driver for forever, and he was Venezuelan as well, so that's probably what the PDVSA is. So what? Yeah. Anyway, what's in D, B, B, C, B, B. Roberto Gonzalez. Yeah, he's one of these ones. There were so many drivers in the first half of the 2010s that were third drivers that did an absolute avalanche of FP1 sessions, but never got race seats, and usually just ended up in either Super Formula or Formula E. Yeah, but it seems to be reasonably popular. Louis Razia, he nearly got the seat with Marussia, and then his sponsorship ran out before the season had even began, and so then his seat went to Jules Bianchi. I think he have some stuff with Caterham maybe as well, probably. Louis Razia. Yeah. People seem to like it though, but for me, I'm not the biggest fan of it. So I'm seeing mostly A, C, A. It's better than the 2012 one. Maybe just B. Put it in the middle. Okay, so next up, this is Matt Red Bull. So yeah, this was from a year. I can't remember which year they went for. They went for the matte, and it's like, okay, well, it's a bit different. It's just I don't know if it's just the effect of the matte, but it's this sort of fluorescent orange red, which is I'm not sure about myself. But I think it was like, okay, you've changed it a bit, but otherwise it's the same logo as you've always had. Um, so it's, yeah, it's got absolutely nothing on their testing liveries, unfortunately. But I'm seeing SBA, A, only gets H due to the lack of evolution. They went matte in 2016, yeah. D, A. I mean, the Red Bull livery, it's a modern classic, but I prefer the like metallic original one compared to this one with the like fluorescent orange and that. So low A, it's an iconic, maybe just an A. It has a thing going for it for like continuity, that they've gone so long without changing their livery. Okay, so now metallic Caterham. This is a gigantic improvement on the 2012 one. Even though the car itself is almost identical. But yeah, just like the... This is almost the... Actually, no. This is different from the 2014 one because there's no yellow on the engine cover on that one and there's no white. Yeah, making it glossy, it's a good combination of yellow, white, and green. The Malaysian flag fits somehow. Yeah, it's just nice and shiny. But it just doesn't have... It's just a shame about the car being so bland itself. But we got S, S, A, S, high A, S, B, B. The chrome in 2012 Caterham's car, S, B. S and B, that's quite a range we're going. Fireroot's Mazzy. Fireroot's Fortsy. He was there. He was a test driver in 2010. I don't think he was involved with them beyond 2010. Should do a video on the history of Williams. I've never really done I was about to say I've never done team history. That's what I started doing. Yeah, if I did Williams, I might do a condensed one. So I don't think I would do it like one season per year, going into excruciating detail about each race, because that's already over 40 videos. But yeah, the history. I was gonna do donkeys years ago, or months ago. I was thinking of doing a ranking of the Williams cars, and I never got round to it. Maybe that'll be done at some point. Insane blown diffuser noise. The 2011 Lotus was the one with the insane, really weird blown diffuser. I saw that car. No, the 2012. I remember the 2012 Caterham. That one sounded insane when I went to Silverstone that year. Like really, really grunty on the gear shifts. It sounded like it was going to blow itself to bits, to be honest. But I don't know how. It must have been the exhaust or the diffuser, because it had a Renault engine just like the Red Bull, but the Red Bull sounded nothing like that. What's your favorite team? Well, HRT, I guess, but for historical, I mean, everyone loves Ferrari for historical reasons, and I like Williams from a historical perspective. I don't really support any current teams as such. I guess I'm slightly partial to Red Bull, and I like Williams just again because the Williams, they're back markers. But yeah, I don't have any. I don't have like one team that I've always been a fanatic supporter of or anything like that. A tier list of video idea. A tier list of every F1 car Roberto Moreno has driven to the Andrea Moda the Frices 40 course. Yeah, I wanted to do. I was thinking of something like that, but to do with the ones that Martin Brundle has driven, because he has driven an absolute ton of cars. He drove a lot of cars as his career, but then since then he's driven so many other historic ones just for media stuff. And I was thinking of doing something around that. I don't have a my team as HRT. I did attempt to. My team is just called Brook F1 team. I decided to go for a British Racing green, but I could never get the colour right. But I should try one with the I tried to make the HRT livery, but it was too difficult. Every Mazepin season ranked from worst to best. Oh yeah. Maybe I should do a video on Mazepin. I mean, everyone's done it, but I could revisit Mazepin's Similar to the Sorokin video where I covered his whole 2018 in detail. Maybe I should do the same with Mazepin. See if it really, really was as bad as we thought it was, and it probably was. If you did another F1 Ice video, I'd like to see one with Phoenix Finance. Yeah, I can do. Phoenix Finance is something I've overlooked a lot. I mean, obviously I just did one, so I have no plans to do a third iceberg yet, but in the future, I'm sure I will, because they're very popular. But I need to do shorter videos for the time, because it was a lot of work doing that. Anyway, back to this. Yeah, it's good. It's not quite S for me. I think I'll put this in A. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is this is the metallic Red Bull. So this is the original classic Red Bull. I mean, this is the 2013 car, so it's a little different because it has the sort of purpley thing with the Infinity logo. But otherwise, you know, it's an iconic F1 livery. It's one people, I suppose, you kind of love to hate it because it doesn't change, but it's been such a constant on the grid, and yeah, it's just good vibes, I think. It's not something I mean, when it first launched, it's like, okay, well, this is different, seeing this on a car instead of a drinks can. I'm seeing all A's and S's. New video was excellent, well done. Also, question, what racing series do you follow aside from F1? Thank you. F1 is the only one I follow particularly seriously. I've just started getting... I watch F2 and F3 as well. I've started getting into IndyCar because we've had a couple of good races recently, and I knew about, because obviously people like Marcus Armstrong and Callum Ilott went to it instead of F1, and but I'm very much a newbie with IndyCar. I'm just a bit puzzled by the fact that you've got drivers like Helio Castroneves and Scott Dixon who are pushing 50 and still driving, when a lot of people say that it's even more physical than Formula One because they drive flat out constantly. That's interesting. I'm not sure why that is exactly. Do you watch WEC? Only Le Mans. I don't watch anything else from WEC. Otherwise, I don't really know. Like, there's no blue flags thing. That was interesting. I didn't know that they did that, to be honest. Pretty hyped for the Indy 500, even though it's very strange to watch single seaters doing an oval and it takes 30 seconds a lap. But whatever. Yeah, I'm getting into IndyCar. I used to sort of follow British touring cars, but I can't really keep up with it. Formula E, I'll watch here and there. I mean, I watched it this weekend because we had some pretty good racing. And Formula Regional, European Championship, if that's on, because it's an easy watch. But yeah. So yeah, okay, this is going in S. It's a classic. It's a modern classic. IndyCar has more cars than money. Yeah, it's a much bigger grid. It's like 27, 28 cars. Do you watch F? Yes, I watch Formula 3 and Formula 2. Certainly. I mean, half the time the races are better than Formula 1. Formula E is terrible and good at the same time. Yeah, it's so easy to rag on it because it is basically like there are very few people who have an ambition as a kid or as a teenager wanting to be a Formula E driver. They basically go to Formula E because they can't get into Formula 1. And the driving standards sometimes can be appalling when you consider the caliber of drivers involved. But what they need to do is to drive on actual circuits, not bastardizations of street circuits. Does it have fan boost? I think they got rid of fan boost. I haven't heard anything about that in any of the races I've watched this year. But yeah, I would like to see Formula E done on actual circuits. It doesn't have to be like FIA Grade 1 because it'll show how slow they are. But you could take them, for example, in Britain, you could have them running around Thruxton or Brands Hatch or Alton Park, one of the smaller ones. Or you could go to one of the configurations of Paul Ricard or something like Watkins Glen in America. Like they don't need to go to Monza because they would be moving at a snail's pace if they did that. Yeah, I don't like this whole like driving around car parks on these like custom built giant kart tracks, basically. Yeah, it can be a laugh from time to time, Formula E, certainly. Do you think the WRC stays nearly on par with the Group B era? No, again, I hardly touched rallying. I went to the Rally of Wales twice in 2007, 2008. That was fun. But I don't really pay attention to rallying. I like the classic cars, and this is mostly because of Gran Turismo. I love the Group B the Group B rally cars, and the late 90s when you had Subaru, Maserati, Peugeot, Toyota, all these different manufacturer teams doing it. That was good, but I don't know. Formula One is the only one that I have like a really, really serious knowledge of, unless you count Formula 2 and Formula 3. But IndyCar I'm new to, and I'm learning about it, and so that opens up another avenue in the future. If I ever run out of ideas about Formula One, I can make videos about IndyCar. They tried that. Yeah, they ran out of energy, didn't they, on the actual track? That was funny. Yeah, but okay, yeah. This is a big aside. Okay, so next up is Haas. So this is I called this original Haas. So yeah, 2016 livery, just the white, the red, the gunmetal. It's a good shade of grey, but I don't know if this is meant to. I don't know if. Well, I mean, the Haas automation logo is just white and red, but it looks like a just sort of generic F1 car livery that you would see in like a TV show or a film or something. I'll try to ignore the fact that the car itself was extremely bland in terms of its performance and all of that. It's the front. Why the red on the nose? Yeah, the front wing is a bit. Yeah, it looks a bit odd. The red around the nose cone and on the sides. The Haas red looks good on the engine cover, on the side pods even. But what we're seeing, A, B, C, low B, low B. Yeah, it's good but not terrible. Space. Yeah, put that in the middle. This is good. This is a very symmetrical tier list at the moment. Okay, so the Papaya McLaren. So this is the 2019 one. I thought this was different enough from the previous one. It's a different shade of blue, just different concept. There's more black on the bottom, and obviously they continued this livery over to 2020 and everything else. Yeah, not bad. I feel like a lot of people, I mean, obviously hardcore McLaren fans go mad for this, and I think maybe because they associate it with like Lando and Carlos and Carlando and blah blah blah. The diamonds, yeah, it is lacking a bit in sponsors. I mean, there's a ton of them down here, but they're all just little ones. I feel like it needs something here. They could have put something in on the side pod. But yeah, favorite F2 driver. This is where I forget who half the drivers are. I like Victor Martins. Last year I was quite fond of Callum Williams actually. Didn't drive very well, but he clearly works very hard. He was very good on social media. I think he lives near me as well. Actually, he lives somewhere down in my part of the country. After looking at the 2021 livery, this looks awfully bland. Yeah, it does look a bit bland. Does the wheelbase look short? Doesn't look that short. Yeah. But yeah, it does need more sponsors, but I think it's better. It's better than the. I mean, now that I look at them, they do look very similar. It's not quite so plain. But what are we thinking? Do you like Jack Doohan? Yeah, I like Jack Doohan. He's a cool guy. He seems primed and ready to take over from Gasly or Ocon if one of them gets their race ban or whatever's happening. But the Alpine queue is quite long for drivers trying to get a seat with them in their driver academy. What's a former F1 track you would like to be back on the calendar? Well, if Hockenheim counts, you can throw that in. And again, the original Forest circuit Hockenheim, if they could just resurrect that. But Sepang is if I could choose any circuit to bring back, the first one is Sepang, certainly. Yeah, Papaya McLaren. So what we're seeing, BAS. It's only marginally better than the B and that. Let's look at it again. Yeah, there's a lot more black. I mean, maybe I could throw this in A. just about, because otherwise it's a bit of a McLaren fest in B and C. Um, what do you think of Domenicali's claims about more sprints in the future? I don't want sprints at all, to be honest. I mean, they've made it work in that they do separate qualifyings now, but I just don't. It not as a statistician, it annoys me that they're given points for that and everything, because it's messed everything up in terms of like points averages across their career and everything. And again, if you're tire saving or tire managing in a sprint race, it's not a sprint race. It needs to be 5 laps, and they force them to crank the engine maps up full, so they have to go hell for leather. So this next one, this is the PDVSA Williams, I call this. So this was 2011 till 2013 when they were being bankrolled by Hugo Chavez with Maldonado. I like the front. That the navy blue with the white has, I like that definitely. And the sides, yeah. Fortunately, they got rid of the step nose on this one. D Beyond Dull, Easy A, CA. Dig Pierre gonna reach back? No, there was a thing of what I think they were saying that if Gasly had been given penalty points for Australia, he'd be he'd be only one more away from a race ban or something. The colours are good, but the design's a bit boring. BD. Yeah, again, it's the orange tires. That 2013, we didn't need those orange tires. They ruin all the cars. So I like the front, but the back, the red, and I'm just not feeling it at the back. But the front is quite all right. Sprints, sprints do need to be short as they have to push. That's the problem. They're not pushing. They're just tire managing and they're not overtaking each other because they don't want to crash. It's dull, but had Lord Maldonado win in a car with traction control allegedly. Okay, yeah, I almost added that to tier 8 of the iceberg, but I basically ran out of time because I was like, okay, this is already 30,000 words and I can't be asked to add another section on. But I was going to put in Maldonado's win in Barcelona allegedly being rigged. I didn't know about traction control. I think one theory I'd heard was they were basically given special tyre compounds that no one else had, and that the idea was that the reason the garage caught fire after the race was so they could burn the evidence. But how they won a race in that car, I don't get it, because it was a dog for most of the rest of the year. It was just weird. Wasn't Barcelona in the original iceberg? Maybe. No. That was Maldonado was in the original. Maldonado was in the original. Maybe it was about that. Oh, maybe it was. I can't remember. Yeah, I'll need to look at it again. BC. Yeah, it's all right. I guess I kind of like it, but it's the back half that's not. He did get a lot of top 5s. He was good in qualifying. Oh yeah, the Williams is a championship winning car. Yes, that's what it was. So it wasn't that the race was rigged. It was that people think that car was good enough to win championships. I don't think it was, to be honest. It's okay, I'll put this in B. I think just in the middle. It's like, yeah, okay, it's all right. So this is a little bit different. So I call this the Phillips Williams. So this is only okay. I count this as different because it's a different shade of blue and it's a different design. So yeah, I'd say this is separate. It's again, the front is good. Phillips is that's. I feel like I've got Philips. That's either they either manufacture razors or televisions. It's one of the two, and I can't remember which it is. But it's giving me that vibe at the front of like a razor company with the black and the blue and the white. But so we got mid to top blue, nicer blue B A S A TVs. Yeah, yeah. I thought, yeah. Why did I think it was razors, like shaving razors or something? Um, yeah, because this livery they had this in 2009. I don't know if it's the same. 08, 07. 08 was different. 07 was different. 08 was the same. I don't know if they had the Philips livery because 2006 they had that really really nice shade of blue, but the car was rubbish. Um, so what we got? B. There's a razor company called Philips. Okay. Um, TVs and razors. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So what are we thinking? A or B? I think it is better than this one. Let's put it in A. It's not an S certainly, but yeah, we can throw that in. Throw that in A. Right. Pink Force India / Racing Point. I kind of want to give them an S just for having the balls to make a pink car. I mean, this one looks especially good because it's like a matte pink, and there's the like bubbles on the shark fin. Obviously, it's not in the 2010s, but I really liked the like pink Mercedes in 2020. That was cool. Yeah, it's just cool. I remember like my jaw dropped when I saw this because they had that silver livery in testing that they used before, and then suddenly the car's bright pink. It bums me that whichever driver that is, their helmet is a different shade of pink from the car. But yeah, there is a lot going on with the sponsors. Oh god, the BWT, the T overlaps with the black and the thing. That needs to be smaller. The driver number doesn't fit. Having the red with they should have made the driver numbers pink as well. But the black fits well on it. Like there's a lot going on, but I just love it. Maybe I should have used one of the later cars as an example, but yeah. It's so good just for this is just to have a bright pink car. That's just fantastic, I think. It literally has his name on the side. Is that? Oh, that is his name. Is that? I thought that was. I saw that for maybe that was just a sponsor. But yeah, if that's Ocon, why did they? Because his helmet isn't normally pink, so why not make it the same paler like pink as the well? Because that doesn't match. That's annoying. I wish they'd made pink tire colors too to make it fit, but whatever. I think I'm gonna give it an S because it's just pink. It's like that's what cool. Okay, purple Toro Rosso. So this is 2017 onwards. 26. Oh, I've forgotten. 2017 onwards. The purple, this like sheeny. This is the 2019 car. It really works on the 2017 one. It's such a good like metallic blue and the red and the grey Red Bull logo. It looks like if Red Bull was a football team, this would be their away colours. That's how I kind of look at it a bit. But I'm seeing most S's, A's, S. Looks like a Red Bull can. Yeah, it does. It lands. It just does. It's such a good shade of blue. It's the polar opposite of the blue on the Sauber in 2015. So put that in S. Okay, next. This is so I've called this the Ray-Ban Ferrari. So this is the red that Ferrari had just in 2019 because before that I consider that separate because this one they've gone for a matte red and it's got the black and the Ray-Ban. I thought this is different enough from the previous Ferrari. I mean, well, it's a Ferrari logo. It's a Ferrari one, so it's always gonna look good. To be honest, Rosso Corsa. This is pre-mission Winnow. Was that 2019? They brought that one out. 2020. But I don't think it's as good as some of their previous Ferrari liveries, but it's still popular. Matt, it's a downgrade for 2018-2017. This is the 2019 car. Pre-mission smoke Winnow. Late 20s. Can you do 90s cars? Yes, that will happen eventually, but again, that's another enormous video. the 2019 cars, the 1990s cars. That'll be my next like big ranking video, but that'll come at some point when I've got the energy to do a video of that scale. Yeah, I'm not so big on the matte. Like it doesn't have. You can tell it's not the same as say like the Schumacher Ferrari red. 1980s cars. Yeah, I'll do that once I've done the 80s drivers. I'll do the cars too. I love it. Lots of people. Yeah, a lot of people like it. I'm trying to ignore the fact that the car that this is when like what's it Matteo Binotto joined the team and Ferrari went down the toilet completely and yeah. Yeah, more black. It would look like kind of the early 90s. I absolutely love the early 90s Ferraris for that. The black with the red, it really works. With the bits of yellow too. Thoughts on MotoGP? I used to watch a little bit of MotoGP about 15 years ago, but otherwise I don't really pay attention to motorbikes. For some reason it's dominated by Spanish drivers. I don't know why there are so many Spanish motorcycle drivers, but it's just so dangerous. Like they've got people die in motorbikes at the same rate as they did in Formula 1 in the 1970s. Like it's just yeah. NASCAR, I don't watch NASCAR. It's yeah. That's just I don't like it. I don't like a racing series where when you're leading you become the slowest by default. It's just like that's one of the problems of ovals, I guess. Okay, where am I going to put this? So I kind of think I just don't. I'm not as big a fan of it as I could. I just put this in. I think I'm going to put it in A. It's not quite. It doesn't quite work. The matte red. I don't think. Okay, so next, this is the red and grey Haas. So they used this up in 2017. It was up until the Monaco Grand Prix. They had this. So again, this is a 2017 car thing. It looks really sporty because the white wheels and they've got the cutout in the engine cover. But again, that's not the livery. I think it's all right, to be honest. It stands out more than the first livery. Almost everyone's saying C. Looks like a GT car. Yeah, it does. It looks. The car itself just looks really mean, but that's the chassis rather than the livery, I guess. An LMGTE car, yeah, it does look a bit like that. Where would it go? So the original Haas, where did I put that? I put that in B. I think it's an improvement on that, but it's not huge. Maybe just in the middle. I'll put that, yeah. Put that in B. Okay, so I've called this Renault Sport because it's obviously their classic black and yellow. I was going to call it something like Bumblebee Renault, but they had the 2010 one looks a bit different because it was an older car and it's a slightly different shade of yellow, but it's still yellow and black. And the 2016 car, there was hardly any black, but a lot of yellow. But yeah, otherwise it does look good. Black and yellow is a very good combination. Particularly the 2018 car particularly worked, I think. I love the fact when you look at it from the front, it's yellow, but from the side, it's black. Yeah, I suppose if you did look at this head on, you couldn't really see a lot of the black on the engine covers. But what we got a couple of S's, C massive downgrade in 2016, D looks like it's from GTA. The nose being flat yellow doesn't work. Maybe they could put the little connecty joiny things, the key, whatever they're called, the keels. They could make those black, maybe. Can't wait for Do you think the F1 should have 12 teams in 2026? Yeah, I like the more, bigger is better. So yeah, more teams, they could throw those in. I hate the 2017 car shape, but Renault Ferrari make the fin at least look acceptable. Yeah. ABA. I like it. I mean, considering this also includes the other Renault cars, I think it's good, so I'll put it in A. Okay, so now we've got the Rich Energy Haas, so the most memeable livery. This maybe isn't the best picture looking at it because you can't really see a lot of the gold. Particularly on the front, there's obviously the gold highlights going down the nose. And you can see along the engine cover there. But it was a significant departure from their last liveries, and I think ignoring the fact that it's Rich Energy, it's a fairly good combination of black and gold for their own branding, and to have it on the car as well. It's like, yeah, it looks all right. But what are people saying? A, S, B, D, S. Bro thinks he's Lotus. Yeah, it is. It is actually. Yeah, it is. It is kind of similar to John Player Special. Actually, I've never really thought about that before. But yeah, it's the same basic concept, isn't it? There's no livery. It's just text. Yeah, I think partly that is the picture. It's maybe not showing it up. If I zoom in, yeah, you can see there's a strip of gold along there, and at the front there's a lot more gold at the front. But otherwise it is almost entirely black. Yeah, they have such a great color combo and do nothing with it. Yeah, maybe it could do it a bit better. The Wish version of the Lotus livery, yeah. So what are we getting? A lot of S's. If the White House was gold, it would be S tier. Where are the other Hasses? B. They're both in B. I might put it above that because I think it's a bit better, I guess. It's just a black livery with some gold and white text trying to be Lotus and failing. Maybe it should go in B. There's gonna be all the Hasses are going to have in B at this rate. Yeah. Okay. Rocket Williams. This is cool. I mean, the car is tragic, and it was obviously completely new livery, new title sponsor. It's really cool because it has that sort of like spray paint blending of the blue with the white. That's quite a cool touch. Quite a lot of black on there, but toothpaste car, yeah, it got a lot of hate. I do like it. It's just the car was so bad. It was such a wretched year for them. Okay, this is something that's insane. As bad as this car was, it's still faster than all the 2012 cars. That's how much faster the modern cars are. Like, if this, I think as I look this up, Spa 2012, this car would have got pole by 2 seconds. It's ridiculous. And it was the slowest car in 2019. Like, that's how much faster they are. I think it's good. Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's a good look. Especially the front. The blending is very nice, I think. But what we got, C, B, A. I'm putting it in A. Yeah. Not quite S. It looks like the clouds from the XP background. At least it's different. Yeah, obviously they changed it up from Martini. I mean, I can't stand the modern Williams livery. It's just dark blue and it's just extremely dull. Okay, so this is Sahara Force India. So there's their 2015, 2016, 2014 to 2016 livery. Again, I need to ignore the fact that this is from the shitty hybrid era when nothing was happening. But The front is not good. Again, I need to not look at the nose, because they had the big penis nose in 2014. Then they had these really random slits in the nose 2015-16. The back half is quite good, but the front half, it's a very plain shade of silver. I don't know what's going on with the green underneath as well. That green strip. The black doesn't blend with the grey. Too much grey at the front. McLaren should have a livery like that leaving out. Yeah, it's the same basic color combo as McLaren had at that time, but just done differently. It's very blocky. Yeah. S for snake. Yeah, I've never been a fan of this car and this look, to be honest. I don't want to. I don't want to go any higher than B. I think. I think the thing carrying this car is more so the design, like the nose and the actual livery. Yeah, the nose is what's ruining it for me. It's just so weird looking. They should have made the Indian flag colours more prominent. Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't. I don't know what it's trying to represent. That's why it just looks weird. So, I'll put it in C. I'm not a big fan. Yeah. Okay. So this is I call this the Santander Ferrari. So this is just Ferrari. It's a 2013 car, but this is Ferrari from 2010 up to 2018. And they had this look for a long. They had this color combo for years before that. Yeah, this is obviously it's a classic. It's the Ferrari red. This is better because it has. I mean, this particular one has got a lot of black, which I'm quite keen on. But it has a lot of the white. The 2016 and 2017 cars, they had the green and they had the green as well on the Italian flag, which looked a bit like the mid-70s ones. But yeah, it's basically Marlboro Ferrari, but with Santander instead. The rear wing painted white looks like plastic. Yeah, it does look a bit plasticky. The Marlboro barcode, yeah, they should bring that back. Yeah, it's Ferrari red. It's always going to be a classic, and it's got the white and the black, so that's got elements of the early '90s ones as well, and it does work with Alonso's helmet definitely. I'll give it S because it's Ferrari. They can have that. Okay, so now Silver Arrows Mercedes. So this, I picked the 2017 car. I basically counted them as having the same livery across the decade because they had, obviously, there were small variations, like they changed the blue up, the minty blue, and then the 2019 car had those like black dots on it. And the 2010 car had shades of black on the nose cone and everything, but it's just good. The yellow Ferrari, as in, was it yellow? Oh no, last year they had the yellow overalls in there. I was thinking of the McLaren that was yellow for some reason in 1984 or 85. Have they ever had a yellow? Maybe I don't remember them having maybe in the 60s. I know there was a blue Ferrari one. Yeah, I don't remember them having a bright yellow one. But yeah, generally speaking, even though like Red Bull, it hasn't changed, it's still just good, and it has the blue is such a nice complement. I think, especially on this car. So I might throw the 2019 Mercedes Sprint. Yeah, the 2019 one is especially good, I think. Yeah, I'll put this in S, I think. Okay. Sponsorless HRT. I mean, well, this is an automatic S just because of, everything. Even if you ignore the fact that it's that they're sort of making fun of themselves by not having any sponsors, it just looks cool. Like, it just has that, like, obviously the checkered flag and the bright red. It's sort of that classic racy look. Um, it's just yeah, it's really well blended actually too. I think they did. They changed when Tees and Capital bought the team, and they turned from becoming Hispania to HRT. They put HRT where it said this could be you. Off the top of my head, I can't remember if any other sponsors appeared, because they had virtually no sponsors other than Tata, which were Carter Kayan's sponsors. But yeah, I absolutely, it's an HRT, and it's just it gets full marks for originality. So it's an S, I think. Another HRT. This is testing HRT. So this is the 2011 car, and it's being driven by Pedro de la Rosa at the first pre-season test in 2012, when they were still building the 2012 car, and he needed to get some track time because he hadn't driven for them before, and he'd been on the sidelines for a year. So they just ran the 2011 car with this plain white with a tiny little bit of gold and some black. And now that I look at it, it does look a lot like the 2010 Sauber. It has, but it's yeah, but it is just white at the end. I dig it a tier F. The Stig HRT. Yeah, if the Stig was sponsoring the team, then it would be, that's what it would be. Goofy white. If you've got a Hot Wheel pretend to be an F1 car, this would be the livery. This is as bland as it gets. Meets the Sauber liveries look like Picasso. Looks better than some. Yeah, I mean, okay. Considering that it's just white, it could be worse. Let's be honest. And it's because there is some black going on down by the exhaust and on the front wing. So I don't know why they weren't allowed to use the "This Could Be You" livery again. F1 Discord, when people have said to me about starting a Discord server, I don't play it anymore, but I used to only use Discord to find people to play League of Legends with, but I don't really understand how the servers work. I'd need to look into. I don't know if it's something where if I just bring people, they can do their own. I can send updates and people can chat about whatever. Then sure, I need to look at that's one thing I need to think of as a Discord server. And people mention a Substack as well. And there's all these kind of things I could do. But yeah. Anyway, testing HRT. Okay, well, it could be better, could be worse. Where are the other HRTs? Both 2 in S and then 1 B. Maybe just B. It's one that most people have forgotten about. It's not exactly the most memorable testing livery, let's be honest. Okay, that's the thing. Toro Rosso. So this is it's the same basic design as they had in the first couple of years, but the big difference is the red on the nose cone. So that's the 2010 car, and they carried this livery up until 20. Well, actually, they had this for the first how many ever years. From the front, it looks really good, and that the Red Bull on the engine cover has always looked absolutely brilliant. It's not as good. It's not as good as their original livery, I don't think. It's not bad. It's still not bad. It's a slightly darker shade of red than on the Red Bull one. On the original, on Red Bull as a proper team. But yeah, we've got S, D, A, B plus, B or C, C, A, B, dominating WC, C, like the Sirocco. And yeah, Latifi. I could do, yeah, a high detail Latifi video. I could do that certainly. Might just split that into parts because he did 3 seasons or something. Kind of forgettable. Purple or go for white. Yeah, I feel like they should have just kept their original livery because they changed this one up a little bit. AlphaTauri's bull looks like it's using a jackhammer. B, I don't like the front, but the Red Bull is beautiful. Yeah, it's the front that's just a bit off, I think. And the shade of gold doesn't seem quite right, too. Maybe just in the middle. Maybe just a B or something. Oh, what was? Oh, wrong. Ah, what am I doing? What have I done? I've closed the thing, haven't I? Liveries. Um, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Testing, horrible. So Virgin. Okay, Virgin 2010, 2011. So same color scheme as Marussia, um, but different design because it's Virgin. Um, and yeah, so this is. I mean, people go mad for this car. I'm not a huge fan of the car. It's very strange. I mean, this is the car without the shark fin engine cover, but it's very fat at the back and very narrow at the front. Like you got this long, very very long, pointy nose, and then the big shark fin engine cover, and it just doesn't look like an F1 car to me, really. But obviously, the Virgin livery, the Virgin design is cool. I mean, we had trains in the UK that were Virgin colours like this that always look cool. But yeah. This was the car that had a fuel tank that was too small for like the first 3 or 4 races, so they had to just either most of the time they didn't finish, which helped, or they just had to basically set it on low fuel and just cruise a little. Um, yeah, Virgin with the business in the front, party at the back. Looking at it from this angle, I notice how awkward the livery looks. Yeah, maybe from the front it looks better. I like that it has this sort of tribal thing going on here with the black there and the red on the front, and there's some silver here. That's kind of cool. The logo in general, the black, red, white, that always looked good too. Um, the car looks good. The onboard shots, because you can't see how pointy the nose is, that looks cool because you can see the Virgin logo with the white strips, and that looks really good. Looks like a fake F1 car, very clunky, good color palette. They could have done a lot more with the silver. Yeah, the silver's a bit lacking. Oh, I can see there's more of it on the rear wing. Actually, it kind of carries on into it. Yeah, it's one of these ones where it's the concept is brilliant, but the execution just hasn't quite landed. Um, Virgin in red on the side pods is hard to read. Yeah. Where did I put the Marussia to compare it to? Oh, the Marussia's in B. Maybe it looks. Yeah, maybe I'll put it in B as well. It looks increasingly similar now that I look at the two. It's just slanted over a little. Okay, only the last few now. We're going nearly 2 hours to be fair. Right, Vodafone McLaren. Yeah, my instinct is S for this, because it's like this maybe isn't quite the best execution they've had of that. I think 2006, that was an especially good year because it was so heavy on the chrome and so like reflective. I didn't like McLaren at the time, but I was given one of their shirts, which I still have, and it still fits me, even though I was like 16 when I got it. Yeah, everyone is saying S. Yeah, but now I look, and at the time I didn't like Hamilton or Button at the time, and I didn't like McLaren because I was a Vettel fan. But 10 years ago, I look back so fondly now when you had that like British dream team and all of that. Even though I was not a fan at the time. Thoughts on Kovalainen? Yeah, Kovalainen. It's a shame he ended up in Caterham because he drove so well for them, but there was nothing to show for it. But he walked all over Trulli and Petrov at Caterham. He was supreme in qualifying. And reasonably good in the races, but just never got any points. Yeah, this is the 2010 car. There's the F duct, the famous F duct on before they had a DRS, and the shark fin connects to the rear wing. That's very strange. Yeah, but no, the Vodafone livery is another modern classic, so it's an S. Do you watch football? Extremely loosely. So I love the World Cup. I love the Euros. Club football, not so much. I used to sort of support Tottenham because before I was doing YouTube, I had a job working for a company that did like closed captions for online videos, and one of our clients was Spurs, and so I did all the subtitles for all the press conferences and all the interviews of players. So I had to be there, untangling like Conte's English and Mourinho's English and everything else. So I got to learn who the squad was and followed a bit. But yeah, I don't really pay attention to football that much, or any sports other than Formula One, to be honest. Yeah. Do you watch Top Gear? Okay, well, modern Top Gear is not Top Gear. I watched Top Gear. I watched Top Gear when it was Clarkson, Hammond, and May, and I watched the Grand Tour. But no, what they call Top Gear at the moment is not Top Gear. In the same way that WTF1 is no longer WTF1 now that Tom and Matty have gone. Yeah. No top four for Tottenham. Well, they lost like. Are you a full time? Yes, I do YouTube full time now. I've been doing it since the channel got monetized, which was never my plan, but that's how the way things have gone. So lost today. Yeah, I saw at half time they were 5-0 down on Newcastle. They got to 6-1, but yeah, whatever. Okay, what am I looking? Okay, so the last two. So this is the white and grey Haas. So this is the Haas from the second half of 2017, and again, I like it. The front is I'm really a fan of the front. Like the white, the red, and the grey is really working. The black is just the back even is just grey. But again, because it's such an aggressive car design, having the white, it actually gives me vibes from the anniversary Mercedes with the white stripping off at the front. It has that feel to it. But I think it's good, and it really it fits really well with Magnussen's helmet, even though it's a different shade of silver or grey. So we've got C, C, B, B. Good colour choices. Oh dear that you liked Spurs. I mean, yeah, it was only because I'd memorised the squad, so I was like, and I thought, well, maybe I should support them just because I sort of work for them, but not really. A. Yeah, when the other Hasses are all in the middle, aren't they? B, B, B. Yeah, this is an improvement. So A. Yeah. Okay, one more. So the Wings for Life Red Bull. So this is the one that they used at Silverstone 2012, and the entire car was made up of. It was a collage of pictures of like fans or people that donated to the Wings for Life charity or something. So I saw this race because I went to Silverstone in 2012, and it's a very inventive design. It does kind of look like a Red Bull that's a standard Red Bull that's been driven on a rally course, to be honest. But it's cool, to be honest. It's a brighter shade of blue. Actually, it's really good. Thinking it's fitting really. It fits so well with the yellow and the red, and because it's a collage, it has that matted effect. Yeah, and again, it's the blue that they've got the wet tires on, so that's what the blue's for on the wheels. Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? I like the idea, but the design itself doesn't do it for me. I think the original Wings for Life livery better. The blue shade works well. SS, yeah. Also, that's the end. Yeah, this is the end. It was only 2010 ones. I mean, we've been going for nearly 2 hours. I wanted this to be a bit shorter. I was originally thinking of just doing the cars, but there's over 100 of them, and I was like, I don't think I can be bothered to quite go through with that yet. But that will come eventually. We'll rank just the cars themselves. Yeah, I think it's really good. Yeah, so we get that in S. We've got a very slightly symmetrical. Most of these are good liveries, actually. Then there's obviously a lot in S. Maybe I should have had more options, I think. It feels off that they didn't do the sponsors in the collage too. They look out of place still S tier. But yeah. Yeah, I think it's just a good car. It looks good. Yeah. I mean that's the obviously that's the end of the tier. I mean I can stay a little bit longer if people got any more questions to throw at me. I feel like that went by really fast because all my other streams have only been about 2 hours, covering so much more. Like when I did the video games one, I thought that went on for forever, but it just didn't really go. It just didn't go on as long as it felt. I think because there were some games that no one had heard of, and I didn't chat for very long, and then others where I was just chatting away for like forever. Um, I'd like to see that McLaren shirt. Oh well, okay. That's one thing I do. 2 seconds. I won't put it on, but I can go and grab it certainly. So 2 seconds. Uh, right, here it is. Yeah. Don't know if you can see how well you can see it. Get it. I'm just using my laptop camera. Yeah, I think it was quite expensive actually. It was one of the like proper ones. And I've only to be honest, I've only worn it like once because I wasn't a McLaren fan at the time, but they bought me I wanted a Red Bull one and they bought me a McLaren one. And then they did get me a Red Bull one a couple of years ago, but it doesn't really fit very well. So I've only worn this like once or twice before. But yeah, it's actually one of the it's not like signed, but at the bottom there's a fake signature, which I don't know if the camera can see from I can't tell which driver that's meant to be, but yeah. That's the shirt. I don't have a huge amount of F1 merch, to be honest, but that's one of the few things I've got. I want one of the West McLaren shirts. Yeah, those are good. I just like the West McLaren livery's good. Yeah, I like what I really want is an HRT shirt, like a 2012 cap. I should have bought one when I was at Silverstone 2012, or like just any HRT merch. I need that stuff because that stuff is really hard to find. Like any old sod can find, you know, mild 7 Renault stuff and any Ferrari and that. But yeah, something a bit more obscure would be fun, I think. I'd love a ranking of street circuits since there are only 14. Have there been only 14 of them? Like, I thought there were... There have been so many street circuits recently. I feel like there's been more. Or maybe I'm just thinking because, like, obviously IndyCar does street circuits and so does Formula E. Wonder if they 40 Simtech or Pacific. Oh, I really wish that they'd done Simtech. That would have been fun. That MTV purple, that was so good. That would look great as a shirt. What do you think of the on-screen graphics? Well, I like from the perspective of making videos, when I do the like team videos going into excruciating detail, it makes it a lot easier because they show on the side they show the positions of everybody and it shows when they overtakes and when that happens and it shows the timings. Whereas before that, 10 years ago, when it was just scrolling on the bottom of the screen, that is a nightmare when you're trying to work out like when Carter Cahan's getting lapped or pitting or whatever, and he never appears on screen. But no, I like the classic like around the second half of the 2000s that you see in like F1 Championship Edition when it was and on F and that kind of thing. Those are cool. Hey Peter, how's it going? Just finished listening to the podcast Casual F1 for today. Watch your ice video. Keep them coming. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. If you haven't, there's also a podcast that I did with the Casual F1 fan, which got dropped yesterday. So give that a listen as well if you want. That's a good chat. Speaking of mild 7, I found a one size mild 7 Renault cap for sale, £20 worth it. I don't know, to be honest. I went to when Tomo and Aldas did their meetup thing at the F1 arcade a couple of months ago, I went to that and Aldas was wearing a mild 7 jacket and that was cool. I want one of those, something like that. Just counted 18 street circuits and 10 road circuits. Right, so that's 28. That sounds all right, but yeah, there are a lot of like I forget about things like Dallas, Detroit, Long Beach. Those are all street circuits because they're ages ago. You forget about them. But yeah, the WEC used to use the classification. Yeah, WEC. I don't know why you would do that in a grid of like 50 cars. You would never be able to keep up with it. Phoenix. Yeah, there are so many street circuits in America. Honestly. Zeltweg and Pescara. Yeah, although those are still street circuits. I mean, Pescara was I guess roads more than streets. I mean, that circuit went went through Pescado, but then it also went up and like it's up into around the hills in the vineyards and stuff. But that was when they would just race on the streets and didn't care about anything and no barriers or anything like that. Which non-sportive programs or competitions do you like? Um, well, if you mean like in terms of competitive type stuff, like I watched University Challenge. I was actually once a contestant on The Chase. So if people don't know, that's a British game show, quite a popular one. I appeared on that about 2 years ago. I didn't win any money, but that was cool. I got to be on a game show. I don't have the recording anymore. We lost it, unfortunately, and they don't send you. They send you a couple of pictures, but not yeah. That was my 15 minutes of fame. That was when I'd only just started doing YouTube at the time when that happened. Uh, Watkins Glen, does that count as a track? No, Watkins Glen's not a street circuit. That's a proper circuit, a road. I guess yeah, road course is the term. Because places like Albert Park is like a sort of hybrid, isn't it? That's because that's a mixture of streets. That's a that or it's. I think actually no. Albert Park, the whole thing is public roads, but it looks like a normal circuit, just because of the way they do it up, I guess. Um, Whereas and the same with Le Mans is that is actually almost all of that is public roads, and there's a few bits which aren't, but most of it is. Who were you up against on the chase? I was up against Anne Hegarty, the governess. She beat us by about 3 seconds. We got 18 or 19 in the final chase. So yeah, one or two extra, and we could have done it, and I would have won like 5 grand. If I went on last. If I chose the high option, we would have been playing for 75 grand, and so I would have lost £25,000, which would have felt really bad. But at the time, I was like, okay, it's 5 grand. I mean, it could be worse. It's not. It's not at the end of the world. Yeah. Montreal is a street circuit. Yeah, Montreal is definitely not a street circuit, and Jeddah is also definitely not a street circuit. Like it being narrow with no runoff does not make it a street circuit. Like Jeddah is not public roads, so it's not a street circuit. It's a circuit. Um yeah. Oh, chat's slowing down a bit. I don't know if it stops or Montreal is one. No, Montreal's not. No, it's definitely not a street circuit. Montreal. I don't. It's on an artificial island. There are roads that go underneath the track in a couple of places. It, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it counts as a street circuit. Um, they have the veneer of a street circuit, but it definitely is not public road. So technically, no. Even if they did build in what looks like parkland on the Olympic Island, yeah, yeah, it's yeah. That's a good way of describing it. Is there are street circuits which, because they look like street circuits, they get counted as that when they're not. But then you have ones like Albert Park, which is a street circuit but doesn't look like one. Um, so yeah. Have you ever been banger racing, stock car racing? No. The only racing I've done is go karts. I did a bit of karting when I was like 15, 16, or 16, 17 rather. I worked at my local go kart circuit as a marshal, and I did some racing there as well. That was back when I seriously thought I could be an F1 driver, starting karting at 16, and then quickly realized that was, even if I had the money, that wasn't going to happen. Um, what car do you have? I don't have my own car. I mean, my dad has a Ford Fiesta that I'm insured on, which I can use when I want to, and that. But I don't. I don't own my own car, but I can. I do drive. Yeah. But yeah, banger stock car racing. No, I've never done that. I didn't think. Do you really get that in the UK? To be honest, like that's. I picture that as an American thing, like just demolition derby type stuff. But yeah, I've never done. I do actually. I have a coupon to get like a track day at Thruxton, driving like F4 cars at some point. I can do that some point this year. Um, Are you paying for RPM? Because I noticed the reference. No, I'm not paying. I'm not paying for him. I just thought I'd mention it because I thought it was funny. He, as far as I know, he doesn't know who I am. Rocket Powered Mohawk. I've never contacted him, and he's never mentioned me. What the hell is yeah? Oh, the Caesar's Palace circuit. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course, we got Vegas coming up. The Caesar's Palace one is actually so small because it was built in a parking lot, and it just loops around. It looks like a slalom you would do when you're trying to get your driving test or something. Yeah, that one was awful. Vegas, I mean, obviously the new circuit that we've got this year is a total opposite of that, and I can't be the only one who's noticed that it looks almost exactly the same as Tokyo Route 246 on Gran Turismo. It's almost identical design, but it's not going to be that. It's not a race. It's like Miami. That wasn't a race. That was just a big corporate PR event and just 100% cringe. It wasn't a good race, and I don't think Vegas is going to be. I mean, the engines are probably going to blow to bits because the going down the strip is so long. You do get that stuff for all of the country. Gets tracks like Mendips, Smetup, Northampton, Ipswich, Kings Lynn. Plenty of banger racing. I didn't know we did that, to be honest. There's a lot of things, sporting things. I didn't realize that NFL was actually a reasonably popular thing in the UK, but it's becoming a thing now. You see that as an American thing. It's there to look in the photos. Yeah, that's it. It's only there to it's there because they want to race at night and go down the strip, and you've got all the glamour and all the casinos and blah blah blah. It's just going to be so. Yeah, it is just all of the social media tat that they do in the run up to the race is just going to be off the charts with the amount of cringe, and then the race is going to be rubbish. Like, yeah. A Peter and RPM collaboration would be something else. I mean, if he wants that, I will. But he seems to be a bit of a lone ranger, I suppose is how I describe about him. I mean, yeah, I do. I'm not going to say who it's with, but I do have a collaboration coming up soon as well, which should be a bit of fun. But yeah, and all the celebrities. Yeah, it's going to be the celebrities just who don't care about F1 and are going to be on the grid, don't know who the drivers are, they know nothing about the sport, and they're trying to ask them, what do you think is going to happen? And they're like, well, I don't fucking know, I'm just here because I'm getting paid. These tracks are relying almost exclusively on the epic backdrop to sell the racing, which itself is probably going to be Z as often the case. Yeah. Banger racing is mainly a British mainland Europe thing. Good if you want to watch the racing live chiefly. Maybe I'm confusing banger racing with like demolition derbies where they're actually supposed to crash into each other. That's what I'm thinking of. Peter, you mentioned the likes of Dixon hitting 50 but still racing in Indy. Do you think Alonso could do something like that in F1, for example, sticks around at Aston for a long time? Maybe. I mean, he said himself he knows that he doesn't have much more time left, but for the time being, he's still driving so strongly that he probably could go on a couple more years, and that. But whether he could reach 50, it remains to be seen. But if he wants to win 7 championships, he needs to get a crack on. There are some celebrities who do care. Yeah, there are, obviously. I mean, I know that Bahrain, Clarkson was there. That was a huge breath of fresh air. Kit Harington at Monaco, again, he was very enthusiastic. But there are a lot of them when they got like Cardi B, and there was that woman from Bridgerton who wouldn't even look at the camera, and it's like, you're just being rude when you've been given this immensely privileged access that people like us would dream of getting. Have you ever done rallycross? No, never done rallycross. I don't think I want to do that. Anywhere near rallying, it's too dangerous for me. Imagine if you had a track like Suzuka, like the Casino Night Zone or some Unreal Tournament map, people would stop at nothing to keep those tracks on if they had the same spectacle. Yeah, a lot of circuits would look great if they were at night. I mean, there was that picture of Malaysia at night, Sepang. Like, that would be cool as a night race. I mean, they should just bring back Sepang anyway because it's such a good circuit. If you took a shot for every overtake Las Vegas will have this, you would still be sober. But yeah, wasn't it Formula E yesterday? Wasn't there 160 overtakes in the race? I think the record for F1 is close to that. It's China 2016 has the most overtakes of any race. Because every time I've had to cover that in any of my excruciating team history videos, it takes forever. it's like 10 minutes just on that race because it's like so and so passed this person and then they were passed by so and so and then they pitted here and blah blah blah. If you took a shot for every overtake Las Vegas will have this year, you'll probably still be so. Yeah, I've read that before, didn't I? Today in equal machinery, who would win between Verstappen, Alonso, or Hamilton? Alonso, I think. The other two, okay, all three of them moan a lot when things are not going their way, but Alonso, he only moans when it's like really, really bad, I guess, and because he's so experienced, he's just so polished, and he's very, as David Crofty says, he's that wily old fox or whatever. Yeah, I mean they're all almost equally good if you put them in the fastest car and let them shit off into the distance and that. I mean they've all done that before. But considering how hard Alonso is driving at the moment in that car and he's keeping on the toes of Mercedes and Ferrari, like yeah. Maybe I'd say Alonso. I think Alonso's a genius. And he is a genuine like generational talent. Remember 2020 when they considered running Austria Silverstone in reverse? In reverse. I didn't know they were actually considering that, to be honest. I thought because obviously there were people in the games who have tested some of the circuits in reverse, and some of them, like apparently Barcelona in reverse is amazing, because of the elevation changes, and you have all these blind corners. Spa in reverse is ridiculous because you have to go through Eau Rouge downhill. It would murder the engines though because you're having to climb very steeply uphill through Pouon, and then No Name Corner, and that's all very steeply uphill, and then it suddenly drops so much down Eau Rouge and Raidillon. You would launch backwards. Yeah, I think Eau Rouge would be too dangerous, probably, doing it in reverse, because it's as blind as before, and the cars would get very unsettled. In the same with trying to do Laguna Seca with the corkscrew, you'd have to run very, very high ride heights to be able to get through there comfortably. Should have run one of the 100-something configs. Yeah, they could have mixed it up because there's a million different configurations at Paul Ricard. Or just do it old school and get rid of that chicane in the middle of the Mistral Straight and pretend it's 1985 or something. Who do you think is better, Hamilton or Alonso? I mean, in terms of driving skill and racecraft, they're basically as good as one another. Hamilton has more of a propensity to crash into other drivers in wheel-to-wheel racing than Alonso does. But then Hamilton doesn't get quite so much in his own head as Alonso, whereas Alonso gets very stressed out, and obviously we saw this when they were teammates. But it's difficult to say because the thing is, Alonso has never really had access to the same cars as Hamilton, in that he's never had, like, when he won his 2 championships, he wasn't blasting off into the lead and just streaks ahead of everyone else. He was getting a lot of wins in 2005 because the McLaren broke down a lot, and 2006 it was very, very close with Ferrari going back and forth. They've had their career trajectories have just been very different, and the big difference is the fact that Alonso is not nearly as congenial as Hamilton, and not nearly as good at creating a good harmonious team environment. He'd much rather scream GP2 engine when things aren't going wrong. And obviously sometimes Hamilton does that, but not nearly as badly as Alonso does. If Spa backwards with equal engines die, and then God knows how long they will last at Las Vegas, probably going to be the first super speedway race in modern F1. Yeah. Peter, do you have any F1 merch? And if there's one piece of F1 merch you really want, would you be? Well, I suppose I showed it earlier. I've got it next to me. I got my Vodafone McLaren shirt, which I've had for about 15 years, and I've got an old Petronas BMW. You see the BMW Sauber BMW Williams shirt, and then I've got a Red Bull shirt that doesn't fit me very well, and I've got a really old grimy Red Bull cap that I bought in 2012. I want HRT merch. I want a 2012 HRT cap, and I want like HRT shirts or an HRT jacket, something like that. Lots and lots of HRT because nobody else has that. I would wear that with such pride if when the next time I go to Silverstone, and probably be the only person there wearing HRT merch in just an absolute sea of papaya orange and silver, or black rather, I suppose. What else we got here? And would you like to enter or make a comeback to F1 apart from HRT? Okay, well, I want to see Minardi come back. I mean, they're here in spirit as Alpha Tauri, but Minardi needs to come back, and so does Jordan. I want those two back. Would you like to see Hanoi back on the calendar? Okay. I think it's fair to give it a go just once, but playing it in the game, I don't like that circuit. It's very, I don't know. I was learning it in the game, and the first corner, it's one of those like concentric tightening things, and I was like, this is really annoying. And then you've got that technical S section, the final bit that's really close to the walls. I was like, it's fair enough to give it a go just once, but I think we'd have it once and then it would just disappear. We don't need it again because again, Vietnam. I might do a video on this because I've been talking about this a lot as my own take on what the perfect F1 calendar would be, and I feel like countries that should be hosting races, they need to be ones which, well, first of all, they have the money in the economy to be able to justify and be able to build the infrastructure. They need to have a good circuit. It needs to be a country where there is demand from it, as in from the public, or a country that has a strong motorsport or automotive heritage, and a country that isn't committing any major human rights violations. So countries such as, you know, the UK, Germany, United States, they fit all of those categories, whereas Saudi Arabia meets one of them because it has the money and that to put a circuit on, and that's it. But Vietnam, again, it's not a country that has a lot of motorsport history and heritage. And it just the circuit it's like there are very limited spots on the calendar, and it's not going to make the cut, I don't think. Yeah, there are some, but there are things that need to come back first, such as Malaysia needs to come back, so does Germany. A case can be made for bringing India back if we got another Indian driver, because that circuit is fantastic, I think. I was really fond of the Korean circuit. Again, never any Korean drivers or anything, but I quite liked the circuit, even though it looked like it was built in a swamp. Istanbul again is another very very nicely built circuit, but it's very isolated and attendance was never very good. Fuji again, I love that circuit, but they only raced there three times, because they did in the 70s and then again 2007 2008. But Suzuka takes precedence. I think, yeah, Fuji to Suzuka is what Brands Hatch is to Silverstone, basically. It's like it would be perfectly suited to hosting the Japanese Grand Prix if Suzuka didn't exist. Buenos Aires, Argentina, yeah, that was another one. More races, a couple more races in South America. That'd be a good one. Argentina, there was still racing there as late as like 1997 or 98. Yeah, Zolder. No, not Zolder. Not in place of Spa. But the last time we went there, Gilles Villeneuve died, didn't he? Or is Zolder the one that's no Nivelle Bolaire? That's the one that's like half the circuit's gone and it's built and turned into a business park or something. Could Kushmini get to F1? Okay. If he did, it would be in a similar fashion to Carter Kane, like if there was a couple of backmarker teams and he could fill it in. But at the moment, he's driving all right. But if he was in the position of people like Théo Pourchaire, or previously like Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc, where they're just shitting all over everyone and they're obviously going to be in F1, then sure. But with such limited spaces, who knows really? But that would obviously create a lot more interest back in India for Formula One. And maybe they might consider bringing the circuit back. I don't know. European GP back, yeah, that was fun. I mean, Valencia. Okay, obviously they went all over the place for the European Grand Prix. The Valencia circuit, the 2012 race was good, but the others weren't. But I like the circuit again. It's the nostalgia, because it was like, you know, first half of the 2010s V8 diffuser era. It was just such a good time for F1, and that was one of the circuits we had then, alongside Yongham and Bud. that you kind of associate with it. And yeah, bring back the Nürburgring. Yeah, they should bring back the GP Nürburgring course. If they could have that alternating with Hockenheim like they used to for the German Grand Prix, then yeah, they should do that. To be honest. And yeah, the European, it is an easy way to rotate because you have this problem of because there are so many European circuits that could legitimately do it, and this is a way of rotating them. So you could throw in, yeah, like the Nürburgring, Valencia, Jerez, Portimao, Imola, I guess, like it's stuff like that, rather than having several races in one country. I just don't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, people are saying they were struggling with attendance for Germany. I do wonder how that happens. Because even Domenicali is saying that like circuits like Monza can't rely on being historic. And it's like, well, surely they can rely on them selling out. But people struggling at Hockenheim, I don't understand, because all the recent races there have been really good. Like 2018 and 2019 are both classics, like two of the best races of the decade, and it's such a good even after it was neutered by Hermann Tilke, it was still such a good circuit. And again, it's a classic. It's a classic circuit that goes back like pre-war, and it looks like an old vintage circuit with the trees and everything else. Yeah. Imola can't sell out this year's tickets. Yeah, Imola's another. Imola's another classic circuit. Obviously, it has a fairly dark history, but if I like the rate. It's difficult to overtake, obviously, but it's a good circuit. It looks good, and it's got the right vibe and that. It does seem to still have a propensity for crashes. Obviously, we saw today that in Formula Regional, Adam Fitzgerald has now broken his back going over a sausage curb, and they still haven't got rid of those. They need to get rid of those, I think. Let's see. Yeah, they may. Yeah, Imola should be called San Marino. Yeah, I think that. I mean, even though it's not in San Marino, they should just go back to that, because that would catch people's attention rather than the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. I don't know why they don't just. They have an obsession with having like regional names, like we had the Styrian Grand Prix in Austria and stuff like that. Yeah. Popularity of F1 in Germany is dropping after Schumacher and Vettel. I mean, yeah. Well, Hulkenberg's the only German driver left, and Wehrlein he crashed and burned a bit. Not that it was his fault, but he's not in F1 anymore. There are hardly any German drivers in the feeder formulas. When 10-15 years ago, it was just a sea of German drivers, and that was the Schumacher effect. And now they've all gone, and there's not really anyone coming up. So Germany is suffering a bit on the driver front, I think. Whereas places like Italy and France, there are a ton of drivers in the feeder formulas at the moment. Potential for Mick next year though with Audi. Well, if they're close, unless they see Mercedes as a rival, they might loan him over so that he gets somewhere to go. Because Mick, obviously Toto has come to his defense and doesn't like the way that Gunther treated him, and he could be worse. Obviously, he was far better than Mazepin. Not that that's saying much, but against Magnussen, he wasn't doing so well. But then obviously Magnussen, very experienced driver. Mick is still young. He has a lot to bear on his shoulders because he carries his father's name, and it's probably obviously the situation with Michael and whatever his prognosis is probably very stressful as well. I do look, and maybe I'll cover this in an iceberg. I look with increasing suspicion at how fast his cars were in F3 and F2, and like how good his race starts were. People are saying that he may have had a special engine. It's like maybe that well, it's not as equal as it looks. A lot of these spec series, and so maybe that was something that was happening there. If Hamilton does decide to retire, I think they'll put him in that Mercedes. Yeah, on the in the unlikely event that Lewis retires at the end of this year, then obviously the first person they would go to is Mick, unless Ocon is still a Mercedes junior, if they might take him over, and that frees up a space at Alpine. But yeah, I think they want to see Mick somewhere, and everyone loves him as well. Yeah, but we'll see. Lewis retiring, it really depends. I mean, Mercedes, they're bigging up the car and they're saying we've brought these big upgrades coming and it's going to be better. But I think yeah, it's hard to say. He can still Lewis's racecraft is as good as ever. I mean, the mistakes are showing up a bit more because he's in a less competitive car and he's having to do more wheel to wheel racing, but he's clearly driving just as well as ever. And he's not too old. He's 38. I mean, Alonso's in his 40s, so he's got a few more years in him if he wants to. But as well, he's the kind of driver that, because he has so many passions and hobbies outside of F1, that he's got plenty to keep him busy and keep him occupied once he's done racing. And I don't see him as the kind of person that would maybe try IndyCar, or Formula E. I feel like he's just a sort of a one man band, if that's the right metaphor, in the same way as Vettel, like just doing F1. But he's not the kind of person where he'll just keep racing for the sake of it because he's got nothing else to do. Like he'll leave when he wants to leave. But I think it will come within the next 5 years certainly. But we'll have to see when. 2026 to drive the new car. Yeah. It really depends. I mean, when Vettel announced his retirement, it did not surprise me because I thought the car is so bad, he's not going to want to keep doing this. So yeah. And Vettel, he did have a kart test. That was in 2003. So while he was still a junior, but yeah, he gave that a go. Feels kind of weird how the other V8 era drivers, Vettel, Kubica, have retired by this point, while Hamilton still hangs on despite being older than them. And there's Alonso. Yeah, I mean, okay, well, Kubica is still actively racing, but his F1 career was obviously interrupted by his rallying crash. Who knows what would have happened without that? That's a topic for me to do when I start doing alternate history. Is what if Kubica's rally crash had never happened? Because he was supposed to move to Ferrari. Yeah, because Vettel's younger than Hamilton, but Vettel's just had he's had worse. He's been back in the midfield for his past couple of years, so I think he just didn't want to do it anymore. And he's got his own family, whereas obviously Lewis is a bachelor. He doesn't have like a wife and kids that he wants to devote his time to or anything. As well, and maybe he does want to start a family at some point. I don't know. Do you think Lando will leave McLaren this year, and where will he go if he does? Wasn't it last year he signed that 5-year contract? Well, if he tries to break that, I think for himself, he'd probably be targeting Mercedes, because he's going to want to go up. And that's an option. Without Mick, you could easily say that if Lewis retired at the end of this year, then maybe Lando would end up alongside George in Mercedes. It depends if those two want to be teammates, but that was an option. Did you include Hamilton's to Till? Yeah. No, that their alleged homosexual relationship was covered in the first in the first iceberg video. How true? I remember hearing those rumors like when it was supposed to be happening, like 10 years ago and stuff. And because there was this big falling out over that bar brawl that Satil had and everything else, and they don't speak apparently. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea if that's true. I feel like if that was true, we'd probably know about it, because the drivers have, in the age of social media, it's very difficult to separate your personal life from your professional life, I think. Lando to Red Bull. Lando doesn't want to be a number 2. Like, he was sort of... He like him and Carlos obviously had a really good. They didn't have like a number one, number two relationship, even though it had elements of a sort of mentor apprentice thing. But the team is built around Lando, even though by all accounts McLaren does seem to be a mess in terms of the organization and that. But he has his number one status at McLaren, even if Oscar is already matching him quite well in a lot of play, even after only a few races. But I feel the only legitimate place he would go is Mercedes. I don't see him going to Ferrari or Red Bull because they're locked in with their number one drivers. I can see Sainz being dropped if he doesn't perform. I mean, we're seeing a lot of this in the rumor mill that Sainz is getting on better with the team, or he's taking command a bit more because apparently Leclerc is too nice, and Sainz is more demanding. And it's like, okay, well, to be fair, both of them complain because there's a lot to complain about when you're driving for Ferrari, but Leclerc is a bit more passive aggressive, I guess, whereas Sainz has got his whole stop inventing thing, and he's similar to Vettel, making up race strategies on the fly, and like his begging to not be penalised in Australia. Sainz does seem a bit more domineering in that sense, I guess, but it's still reasonably good. I mean, Leclerc is the faster, but I think Leclerc is more frustrated because he's just wasting. I said this in a tweet. I remember the message that Vettel left on his helmet when he left Ferrari, when he said, "You're the most talented driver I've met in 15 years of F1. Don't waste it, but remember whatever you do to be happy and smile." Is that he is wasting his time at Ferrari. Like, there is so much, like, he's won 6 races, and Max is pushing 40. By the end of this year, Max will have overtaken Senna's record, and he'll be on the doorsteps of Vettel's. And Leclerc is on 6 wins, and he's got a lot more pole positions than that. And he's such a supremely talented driver, but he's just being wasted in the same way that Alonso has been wasted at Ferrari and at McLaren and everything else. Look at how Schumi was and his assertiveness, but then he had the dream team. I mean, yeah, Schumacher basically completely broke the mold on what a Formula One driver should be, because he was obviously setting new standards of physical fitness, and he built this team from the ground up. Essentially, he knew who he wanted, and he brought them over, and he made this perfectly oiled machine. That's what you kind of need to do these days, rather than, say, 50 years ago, just happening to be in whichever team has invented the latest innovation that makes your car 2 seconds faster than everyone else's. Thoughts on Max retiring early? Yeah, obviously he's threatened this because of extra races, and I can understand a lot of people, the mechanics probably more so than the drivers, would not want to do extra races because of how tiring it is. I think for him, it depends how many records he's chasing, because he's already got 2 titles. He's going to have a 3rd one at the end of this year. So if he's deliberately targeting, say, Hamilton and Schumacher's records and wants to beat them, he's going to have to stay around quite a bit longer for that. But if he just wants to do things himself, it depends how much he's got. I mean, obviously he's sitting on a mountain of money. It depends what he does after that, if that means he goes into other racing. But maybe he wants to not do that, because he's been racing his whole life, apparently had a fairly abusive upbringing from Jos. He's basically he's like a cyborg that's been programmed for racing. Like, his whole life has just been built around that. He doesn't really have much of a life outside of F1, and so maybe he wants to do that. I don't know, but he's already had such an immense amount of success. Maybe he will just call it quits early. He's like a more refined version of Montoya in that respect, because he came in and kind of he stirred the pot, and he was fearless against Schumacher in that. And then his career just kind of fell to bits, and he left fairly early. Max doing Le Mans, yeah. Max and Jos doing Le Mans together, that could happen. There are a lot of father-son pairs that do Le Mans together. Max's F1's Erling Haaland, a cyborg built to win and win. Yeah. I would like to see Jack try his hand at the championship challenge, if only for the sake of glory, even if there's all these circumstances around it. I'm assuming by championship challenge you mean beating Lewis and Schumacher's record. But an R race of champions. Yeah, he should do Team Netherlands with Nick de Vries or something, or his dad, or Guido van der Garde, or something like that. That could be cool in the race of champions. Yeah, that's the only thing that Vettel's officially done outside of about F1 as a professional was the race of champions, when he was doing it with Schumacher and then Hulkenberg and then Wehrlein and then Mick. I can see Lewis being pushed into retirement in order to have Norris come in and become the new British Dream Team. I don't think Mercedes would push him out unless he was doing a Ricardo and suddenly his driving went to shit. Like that's his team. Like unless we think it's gonna be like my theory about Schumacher being pushed out in 2006. Like the team is built around Lewis. They obviously have a very good working relationship, and they've been willing to do things such as having the black Mercedes and doing the Hamilton Commission and all of this stuff that he wants. So unless he starts shitting on the team or just driving really badly, I don't think he's going to leave like against his will. Do you think Alonso or JPM will ever pull off the Triple Crown? Well, he's got 2 of them, hasn't he? Because he never won Indy. Maybe he'll try again. Obviously, he's focused on F1, but he tried several. I mean, Indy. I swear that IndyCar, it's such a shot in the dark about whether you can win it or not. Maybe this is me not really understanding the intricacies of oval racing, but it's like a game of chance about whether you happen to be in the lead on the last lap, because you can't really build a lead because you can't break the slipstream without going offline and ruining your lap times. And because last year Ericsson won it, Pato O'Ward nearly won it and lost it on the last lap or something. But then he was miles ahead in St. Petersburg a few weeks ago in the oval and still lost. It's such a different kind of racing to traditional circuits that it feels like a game of chance in so many ways about how easily you can do it. Whether or not you're leading on the last lap, that's more super speedway rather than oval. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, Indy is a little different because it has the banked, but it's because it's square, it's rectangular rather than an oval, say like Daytona, where you do just go full throttle and it's a more smoother thing. I mean, you do an IndyCar, but it's slightly different, I guess. How's Grosjean doing in Indy? Well, he crashed in St. Petersburg and don't think he finished on the podium. I think he hasn't won a race in Indy, but he's not doing badly. Everyone's just hyping for him because it's Grosjean. He's doing. Could be worse. Obviously, Ericsson is doing very well at the moment. He seems to have found his mojo doing IndyCar because F1 never really landed with him. Issue with oval racing is you have to be in a good car and very committed to break a lead. Alonso did not have a good car. Yeah, this is what, again, the other thing with IndyCar is that because I was thinking about this. I'd never really thought about it. I think Formula One is the only non-spec single-seater series, because every other series has certainly the same chassis. Obviously, IndyCar, they have different engines, but it's the same chassis. But every other, all the feeder series, it's exactly the same car. Formula E, it's the same car. Super Formula is the same car. It's only F1 where you actually have teams building their own cars. And it's like when people say, oh, the car's really good this weekend, it's like, well, yeah, but how? It's the same as have you just cracked a better setup? Because it's like the car is the same. Yeah. I mean, there are some things. I mean, someone's mentioning NASCAR and touring cars. They're close to spec in the sense that they're different cars, but they have to have very similar performance stats, so they're very close on pace, but they look different. But I suppose in touring cars, the car aerodynamics are not so much of a concern compared to single seaters because yeah, Formula One is the exception. Formula One is the Constructors' Championship first and foremost. It seems obvious, but people forget that for whatever reason. Yeah, and to be honest, that's for me. That's what drives a lot of my interest in Formula One is the fact that it's the cars. first and foremost, it's the cars rather than the drivers that I take interest in. I love the innovation, and even though they keep tightening the regulations, I love the room for innovation and ingenuity, and all of these different concepts and ideas that have been developed over time. And which team is going to come up with something new that means that they crack the code and who isn't. And you just don't have that with the other series where the car is built for you, and it's just a case of, obviously it's more down to talent, but it's, if the car design just does not work for your driving, there's nothing you can do. And then it's just a case of how well you can set the car up, or how quickly your engine wears out, or something like that, or if you're driving for Prema. Spec series to me is like building an IKEA table without a manual. Everyone gets the same bits, but people will end up putting it together differently, which can lead to differences between cars. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they literally build the cars from scratch, but that does seem to be the reason that like Prema do so well, is because they have access to the best mechanics, so they know how to set the car up, and they have more money, so they can afford more spare parts, so things don't wear out so fast. That seems to be what it is with Prema. Race Group B that's the rally. Yeah, I get them mixed up. Group B is the rallying. Again, I didn't watch it at the time, but again, I love that those cars were so just tough and monstery. The 80s was good because we had Group B and Group C, and then F1 we had the turbos and ground effects. So the cars were just so extreme, and there was no consideration of sustainability and the money, and so they just built. They didn't care, and they just built whatever they wanted without limits, really. And obviously they had to stop that because the cars were too dangerous and they were too expensive to run because they were breaking down a lot and crashing and everything. I didn't watch Button's debut. I don't watch NASCAR, so I know the race was mental, but I didn't watch Button racing in NASCAR. One of the things I like about F1 is the way the cars can produce similar performance in very different ways. Yeah, I mean, again, because the regulations have tightened, because the field spread is so much closer now, you're not getting so many standouts where they build a car that just doesn't work. Or things like late 70s, when Lotus comes up with ground effect and everyone's like, what's this? Or, early 90s when you had these garbage teams that were building cars that were like held together with sticky tape or were asymmetrical or something like that. But now, because the regulations are so limiting, all the cars are more. It's very, very close to being a spec series. Aside from the side pods, the cars look basically the same, and there's a 2-second field spread, which is so ridiculously small. When 30 years ago, if you were 2 seconds off pole, you'd be starting on the second row. Yeah. Yeah, IndyCar has an image problem with people thinking it's basically Formula 2 Burger Edition. Yeah, I think people get mixed up. Obviously, IndyCar is not a spec series. It's not a feeder series to Formula 1, but because it carries license points and some people see it not enough, they see it that way. And it does have this image as well, is that we're seeing an increasingly large number of drivers from F2 going to F1, going to IndyCar because they couldn't get into F1. And I think that's why it's becoming associated with Formula E. Because everyone wants to go to, but IndyCar does have a large number of drivers that were never in the European sphere, never considered F1, but they went up the IndyCar ladder because America seems to have its own separate racing ladder. But yeah, Formula E, I don't really think there's anyone there that legitimately wants to be there instead of F1. They're just doing it because they can't be in F1, or because they were in F1 but it just didn't stay as long as they could. Video idea which could be a bit too open-ended but good. How have F1 champions performed in alternate racing categories during after? Yeah, I could do something like that. I mean, people have suggested to me like who had the best like post F1 career and stuff. If we limit it to champions, I could do some research on the ones that have done other series and if they were particularly good in them. I mean, we know obviously that Villeneuve, Mansell, Fittipaldi, Andretti, and probably a couple of others won IndyCar. So they obviously had that, and there are other people that have done well outside of. Yeah, a lot. I don't think any champions, but a lot of drivers that say have done really well in touring cars and stuff like that. A1GP should come back. What a series that was! I've only watched it like once. A1GP, but I mean, yeah, it was a fun one. I don't really know much about it other than I know that Lorraine Carter Kane was in it because they had like national teams or something. Yeah. Perhaps, but I think India needs to run more races outside of North America to widen their appeal globally. Hey, Peter. Hello, Jake. You've missed the tier list. Unfortunately, that ended about 45 minutes ago. We're now just chatting because I got nothing better to do. More races outside of North America because Indy they race in Mexico, don't they? But yeah, if it depends if I mean IndyCar's always been an American thing, so maybe it doesn't want to become like a world championship because then it is sort of stepping on F1's turf a bit. It's a different series. It drives me nuts that the Indy 500 was on the calendar for the first 10 years of F1 because it's got absolutely nothing to do with F1 and it just messes up the statistics because then you've got like an extra 100 American drivers that never had anything to do with Formula One. What about a video about drivers' performance on 1984 Mercedes race? Oh, the Mercedes race with that Senna won. Yeah, I could do something on that. Certainly, I need to. I know that they were driving like E-Class Mercedes or something, and Senna won it, even though he was still a rookie in F1. I could do something about that. When you get a random event, I mean, these days half the drivers are not allowed to do extra series. I mean, for some of them, they don't have time for it, but also if there's the risk of injury that jeopardizes F1, maybe they don't want to. I think Hart went to Europe the weekend of 9/11, but yeah, maybe obviously again I don't know much about IndyCar, but yeah, maybe they have. They used to do Interlagos and Lausitzring. Yeah, I mean that's still in the Americas, obviously. Yeah, they could do that. What happened to Alonso in pre-season, or is it still being covered up? Oh, 2015, when he had that weird crash. Yeah, that was in the iceberg. It was just a bit of a funny crash. I mean, Alonso has a tendency to hurt himself because in 2016 he had to miss a race as well, and that. And didn't he crash this year? He had that bike accident too, or last year or something. I don't know. He needs to be careful more. Are the drivers that race for HRT still racing? Okay. So, let's go back. So Bruno Senna and again I covered this in the last video. Bruno Senna and obviously Karun does the odd bit of racing here and there, but obviously he's mostly doing his punditry work. Bruno Senna, he does esports and he's also a brand ambassador for that like flying car series that's coming up or something. That's those two covered. Sakon Yamamoto is now a politician back in Japan. Tonio Liuzzi has retired from racing. He runs a restaurant in Italy. Narain Karthikeyan has retired as well. He runs a business selling like scooters and that kind of thing. Ricardo's obviously with Red Bull. De La Rosa is brand ambassador for Aston Martin. That's all the HRT drivers, I think. Yeah. If you want to count Ma Qinghua, I think he's still racing in like Japanese touring cars. He was their reserve in 2013. Danny Close, he doesn't race anymore. Their other development driver. Flying car series. Yeah, I don't know if it's like manned flying cars, but it's something to do with like flying car, helicopter, hover car things. Something like that. Lance never had a bike crash. Well, yeah, we could throw them. The Vettel never had COVID. I mean, if he did, okay. Well, that was interestingly staged because we saw the pictures of him bandaged up in hospital. What reason would they have to not give Lance a bike crash? Well, if Drogovic had driven for them, maybe you could think that they were, but because they didn't get, they just ended up. But then they didn't. The thing is, Drogovic thought he was going to race in Bahrain, and then they didn't let him, and he got I don't know if anyone else saw on Twitter, he was liking a couple of tweets in Portuguese that were basically bitching about Stroll, and they're like, why are they letting him race? They should give it to Drogovic. And then he quickly unliked them when people noticed. But yeah, I can see how he thought he would feel a bit aggrieved because he did all of pre-season testing for them. He'd driven the car. He was in perfect shape. Maybe they should have just let him, but of course Daddy's cash is there, so he gets it. That's another thing. Lance Stroll, he is going to break Raikkonen's record for most experienced driver in F1 because as long as his dad wants to keep running the team, Stroll will always be there. Airspeeder, that's the one, yeah. But yeah, and also because he started really young. He was 19, so he's got plenty of time to add an extra like 200 race starts on top of whatever he's got. So yeah. What we're seeing. Sex toy driver, yeah, Robert Dornbos. That's an interesting one. I don't know why that's. Yeah, that's a weird job for an XF1 driver to have. Hi lad, love the new vid. Oh, thank you. I haven't checked the analytics while I've been making this stream, so I don't know if it's got a lot more views now, but it's doing good. Do you think that Leclerc will ever win a title and Sainz ever win another race? I think Ferrari could win maybe a race this year, and take your pick if it's him or Leclerc. But he's not winning a title with Ferrari, not in the state they're in. He'd need to abandon Ferrari completely and go to Mercedes or Red Bull, but that's never going to happen with like George and Max around. Cleon, oh yeah, Christian Cleon. He's the other one. He only did 3 races of HRT, so he's a presenter for the Austrian coverage of Formula One, and I think he still does a bit of endurance racing here and there or something. But yeah. The fake Shumi interview could do on the I could put that on the third iceberg video. Yeah, AI. Okay, this is obviously AI is becoming so advanced now that we're going to see more stuff like that and deep fakes and everything. Unfortunately. Was William receiving special tires in any icebergs? No. I nearly put that on this one, but I just ran out of time because I was going to put that at the end, and then just couldn't be asked because the video was long enough as it was. Yeah. Do you think Daniel Kvyat's going to come back? No, I don't want him to come back either. There are loads of other drivers I would pick before him to be on the grid, I think, and I can't be asked with Kvyat really. Lance will get bored of not winning. Yeah, maybe he will. I mean, it's at the moment it's kind of a Roy Nissany effect that he's just hanging around because he's got nothing to do. Although I think Lance Stroll is Roy Nissany is just an objectively bad driver, whereas Stroll he seems to have 2 settings. He has best driver ever or worst driver ever, and there's no in between. So he just, if he wants to, shit on everyone and get some amazing pole position, he can, or pull a podium out of his arse that no one expected in the rain, but he hasn't done that yet. Opinions on LMP3. I don't really have any specific opinions on that compared to LMP2 or 1, because I don't pay enough attention to the WEC. Yeah. Yeah, for me, WEC, I kind of ragged on it a little in the first iceberg because it's not quite the same as, again, 20 years ago, because now it's just Toyota, basically, because Porsche are doing it, but the hypercar class, there's hardly anyone involved. And you used to have Audi and Bentley and Toyota, still Toyota, BMW, Mercedes, all these other ones, and they just don't have that now. Alonso's salary is partly paid by FOM. Okay, that's interesting. Feel like with this year's car, Lance can get a pole if qualifying is wet. Yeah. I think that there is going to be a win for Alonso, certainly, this year. I want it to be Spain, because that will be exactly 10 years since his last win, which was in Spain in 2013. Would Lawrence sack his son if the shareholders asked and forced him towards it? I don't think so, to be honest. I think he'd go with him. It depends on. I guess that depends on how their own personal relationship is. You should do a video on some of the awful F3 drivers in recent years, like Tote, Deleda, VMEX. Yeah. yeah, I mean, it's doing stuff like that. Obviously, I realized that one thing that put me off, like just ragging on drivers, was the fact that when Josh Revel did his video on Alessio Deled, or the first one he did, he had to take it down because they sued him for defamation, I guess. And so it's like, I don't know how much of a good idea it is to like just, especially if people are going to have a go at me for saying, oh, you hate this driver. It's like, I don't necessarily want to rag too hard on certain ones. Yeah, but now that my platform is getting bigger, it's like they're more likely to notice if I'm saying, oh, so and so shit or whatever, or pointing out when they did stuff they shouldn't. When was the last time you watched WC? I watched Le Mans last year, but otherwise I don't watch. I don't watch anything other than Le Mans with WEC. Yeah, basically. Sue Josh Revel. Or I don't think the lawsuit went through, but I think he basically threatened legal action against Josh, and so he had to take the video down. This was about 3-4 years ago, but then he did eventually put a video out on Deleda sometime last year, but the first one had to be removed. Alonso knew about Spygate. Well, that's possible. I mean, I know that he and Hamilton and De La Rosa, they were all given immunity from prosecution for cooperating in the investigation because there was evidence of email correspondence between them and Ferrari, or them and Nigel Stepney. So maybe they were a bit more involved. I'm Spanish, and if Alonso wins in Barcelona, I'll tell you we'll burn the circuit. Yeah, it'll be a party it'll be scenes if Alonso wins. I hated him 10 years ago, but now I love him because I was a Vettel fan and he was annoying and beating Vettel when he shouldn't. But yeah, now I love Nando. He just doesn't give a fuck, and it's great. Do you think Alonso knew about Crashgate? Yeah. To be honest, I think it's perfectly reasonable to suggest he knew. He probably, because he's like, well, if you're going to give me a win, then why not? And obviously, I'll keep hush hush and pretend that nothing's going on. And he didn't get punished for it because obviously he can claim ignorance. Yeah, Nando is Kimi with more space. There was somebody on Beyond the Grid who was he was one of the engineers at Ferrari or somewhere, who basically used to work. He's worked with both Kimi and Nando, and he said that they're complete opposite personalities because they're basically equally talented. But Kimi puts in the minimum effort, whereas Alonso goes 110% on everything. But Kimi doesn't want to do anything other than drive. He doesn't care at all about like the setup stuff and all the meetings and doing all the social media and stuff like that. He just wants to drive. Whereas Alonso is going to stay with the engineers and work on setup and upgrades and take the reins and just make sure everything is being done fully. How do you feel about the rumors of Alonso and Taylor Swift dating? Okay, well, if they have, they've moved on very quickly. That's, that'll keep F1 Twitter going for a few weeks with some good gossip, if that's happening. But, to each their own, I guess. I mean, they're both rich, famous, and hot, so they can date each other if they want. If he doesn't mind them breaking up and her writing a whole album about it afterwards. Does Alonso win Japan without Crashgate? Yes. Well, Crashgate's got nothing to do with Japan. I mean, he won that because Hamilton fluffed the start and then he pushed Alonso wide. He pushed Raikkonen wide. Raikkonen got hit by Kovalainen, so it was a nice double attack from McLaren. And then Massa hit Hamilton and took him out of contention, and then Massa hit Bourdais and took himself out of contention. So basically, without the start going the way it did, Raikkonen would have won that race probably. Right, what time is it now? 6:15. Right. Well, that's 3 hours. So I think we'll call it a night there. It's 6:15 now, but get to go. Still quite a few people tuned in. Actually, more people have tuned in than when I was doing the thing, but that doesn't matter. Okay, well, if you've just tuned in, sorry, I'm going to go now. But and you can see the tier list has been done, but this will be up live. This will be up as a video, so you can watch it back again. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in, and I'll try and keep these up because I've been very silent over the past month or so because I was busy working on the iceberg. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you around.